Also because this was just going to be a municipal election this November, so many cities in the 2nd District weren't even going to have an election. There was no one running. There was no need, but we'll also have to now have a primary election, so those costs add up. But Utah GOP Chair Robert Axson says the cost will be worth it.
But this is a place where this is a function of government. This is a function of our entire social compact and agreement as people, that we have systems in place to allow for our representation. So this is the place where we have to invest in that.
Reporting live, Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio.
Thanks, Amy. Speaking of politics, a new poll of Utah Republicans shows Donald Trump with the slimmest of leads over Ron DeSantis. The New Deseret News Hinckley Institute of Politics poll shows 27% of state GOP voters have picked Trump. He's one single point ahead of DeSantis. So given the margin for error here in Utah, it's a dead heat right now. All the rest of the Republican candidates have anywhere from 1 to 7% support in Utah, single digits. KSL News Time 3:03. Our top national story this hour, former President Trump might face another indictment, this one for his alleged handling of classified documents. Trump has received a letter from the special counsel warning that charges could be coming. Here's ABC News senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky in Miami.
It is a precursor typically to the filing of a criminal indictment. And so if that's the case, former President Trump would have been on notice, perhaps in recent days, perhaps a couple of weeks ago, that he is a primary focus of this investigation. But he has known that for more than a year. That's how long he's been under investigation in connection with the alleged mishandling of classified material discovered at his Florida golf club in West Palm Beach. And the former president, of course, has denied that he's done anything wrong.
Emphatically on Truth Social, former President Trump once again declared this case is a witch hunt. The Supreme Court says the electoral maps drawn by Republicans in Alabama need to be redone. ABC's Asha Rangappa has details.
What the court did was uphold basically 40 years of precedent on applying Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and saying that the district court got it right. The real story here is that they stayed the lower court opinion until now, which actually allowed this map to go into effect for the 2022 elections.
In a 5-4 majority opinion, with Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh siding with the liberal justices, the court ruled those maps were discriminatory and need to be redrawn. The number of 911 hang-ups to the Salt Lake City Police Department has more than doubled over the past year. Police say they don't know why they've seen so many calls, but they say it could be because of a recent Android update that's automatically calling 911. Officer Dalton Beebe says if you do accidentally call into the station, don't just hang up.
But we do want to give advice to anybody who does find themselves accidentally activating their emergency system on their phone. And that's if you're talking to dispatch, just tell them that you don't need an emergency if that's the case.
He says if the caller just hangs up, officers will automatically be dispatched to the area. 2 people have been found dead at their home in Hiram, both from gunshot wounds, and police have now identified the victims. KSL News Radio's Hugo Ricard-Bell covering the story. Hugo?
Jeff, the bodies of 38-year-old Dustin Priest and 37-year-old Heather Priest were discovered by their 16-year-old daughter. The Cache County Sheriff's Office say the medical examiner says that Dustin Priest shot his wife and then took his own life in an apparent murder-suicide. This comes only 8 weeks after the father-son murder-suicide in Salt Lake City and months after the family of 8 were killed in the same way in Enoch. Exactly what happened and why has yet to be released, as an investigation is still underway. Reporting live, Hugo Ricard-Bell, KSL News Radio.
Thanks, Hugo. KSL News Time, 3:06. First look traffic. Good afternoon, Ricky.
Good afternoon, Jeff. Well, the rain is coming through, washing out the drive on I-15 in parts of Davis County, really anywhere between Layton Hills Mall and Lagoon. And so you're going to see slower speeds both sides of I-15 there. And then we have an accident eastbound on the 21st South Freeway just after Redwood Road to the right, and it's causing a little bit of backup there. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
My minute's on the way next.
Well, hello, summer. Adventure here. Spring had to leave, but said you're really outgoing, that you're quite a character. Maybe you'll appreciate a place packed full of character and live performances, like the Shakespeare Festival at Cedar City. Unlike spring, you seem a bit more bright and open, interested in camping under a blanket of stars. Well, all signs point to Cedar City's spectacular campsites on Cedar Mountain. Summer, it's great to finally meet you because winter just might have overstayed the welcome. You seem content now that you're here. I'd love to spend more time with you. How about a walk? Better yet, a hike, so I can show you Twisted Forest and Spring Creek. Summer and adventure, we're perfect together, just like Cedar City's arts and museums, or downtown shopping and fine dining. Summer, adventure asking, stay a few months, let's heat things up, in a spot we'll truly enjoy. Cedar City, Bryan Head.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I love hearing stories of people having water heaters that are really old and they're still doing their job. Unfortunately, most of us won't be that lucky. And when water heaters fail, it's usually in spectacularly inconvenient fashion. Whether it's an unexpected cold shower when we're already running late for work, or worse yet, coming home to a flooded basement, it's never fun. If you'd like to look into replacing your water heater before it fails, Any Hour Services is having a sale for any homeowners listening. Whether you're looking for a new tanked water heater or you want to see what upgrading to a tankless would cost, the plumbers at Any Hour Services can show you what options are available. And right now, you can save $400 on a tanked water heater or $1,200 on a tankless. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
This is My Minute of News, brought to you by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, anyhourservices.com. For years now, the award for most expensive midlife crisis ever went to Elon Musk. Back when he was 46, he blasted a rocket ship into space, and the payload was a red Tesla sports car.
3, 2, 1.
You never heard this out there in the dark void, but the convertible was blasting David Bowie's song Life on Mars.
Is there life on Mars?
Now that's a midlife crisis, but Jeff Bezos is back on Earth saying, hold my beer. A little late to the party at age 59, the workaholic turned playboy who launched Amazon is giving Elon a run for his money. Bezos traded in his wife for a different model. He gave his ex $34 billion and took up with a helicopter pilot, ex-TV anchor from L.A. named Lauren Sanchez. But we're just getting started. Bezos proposed to her aboard his newly built boat. It's the world's largest sailboat, a $500 million yacht with sails that stretches 417 feet. Wait, there's more. Bezos also built a second boat with a helicopter just to trail behind the first one. Pointing from the front of this gigantic yacht, you know how there's often a statue of a woman jutting out from the front of old-time vessels? Look, that's a full-blooded Lauren Sanchez statue. She's wearing a sheer, skin-tight gown that leaves nothing, and I stress nothing, to the imagination. And imagine this. To top it off, the engagement ring Bezos gave the flesh and blood Lauren Sanchez is worth $20 million. Now that's a midlife crisis, though Elon Musk might argue that he's still number one because he bought Twitter.
Jeff Caplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
Okay, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines are brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Here's Ricky Meese.
A lot of dark clouds hanging over the Salt Lake Valley, and they've already let loose in parts of the west side of Salt Lake and up north in Davis County. But for Salt Lake County drivers now, we do have roads drying out where it had been raining, including I-80, Bangerter Highway, and the 21st South Freeway and the West Belt. But we have the final cleanup of an accident eastbound on the 201. Not far from Redwood Road, it's over to the right shoulder. Southbound, I-15 is already filling in and getting a little slow between the South Interchange and 90th South. After that, looking at a good drive around the point all the way to Provo. A little bit of slowing southbound I-15 about 3 miles south of Santaquin. Steve?
Well, northbound 15 all dry as you leave downtown Salt Lake. Easy drive into Davis County, but looks like some rain delays farther up at Farmington by Lagoon up into Layton. Same story on the southbound side as well. Northbound 89 a little slower through Fruit Heights up to 200 north in Kaysville. While you were spring cleaning, did you check your drains? From kitchen sinks to main lines, Big Brothers Home Services is here for you 24/7 because their motto is, we do more. Visit them at bigbrothershomeservices.com. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's copy and paste with the thunderstorms this time. 82 today with a chance for scattered storms. Goes 59 overnight, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow's 81, chance for storms. We keep those scattered storms in the forecast for your Saturday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Right now in Salt Lake City, we're at 74 degrees, so a question. What does gender bias look like in the workplace to you? A lot of people have different perceptions, and we're going to go in-depth coming up on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM, your all-day companion for news.
You get a shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime, sound of the river, you stop and you hold everything. A band is blowing Dixie.
You know, in Box Elder County, they're all about the bucket list. Want to go birding at the premier birding destination in the western United States? Well, check off the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. How about land art? The spiral jetty and sun tunnels will leave you inspired. Or stand on the spot where the Union and Central Pacific Railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation. Yep, Golden Spike National Historical Park is like no other place. Check. Splash, boat, camp, or fish your day away? Willard Bay State Park will guarantee a good time. Soak in a natural hot spring with the highest mineral content in the world? That would be Crystal Hot Springs. You'll feel rejuvenated. Eat at Utah's original steakhouse. Maddox Ranch House is perfection. Check. A 1920s diner. The Idle Owl Cafe will transport you back in time. As you empty your Box Elder County bucket list, you'll find a whole new set of adventures to fill it up again. Fill up your bucket list at visitboxeldercounty.com.
Interest rates have gone up for buying a home, but not for remodeling the exterior of your home. This week only at RGS Exteriors, it's our zero interest financing sale. That's right, 0% interest on any gutters, siding, windows, or any exterior remodeling project on your home. We have programs for 12, 18, and 24 months, all with 0% financing. But the sale is this week only at RGS Exteriors. Want stunning James Hardy siding? 0%. Need to replace your windows? 0%. New gutters or gutter covers? 0%. How about a full extreme makeover? That's right, 0%. We've also been serving Utah for 5 generations, so you can trust us to do the job right. All work is backed by our exclusive 10-year everything guarantee for total peace of mind. And this week only, everything is available for 0% financing with approved credit. Don't put off your new exterior project any longer. As always, estimates are free, so call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
KSL News Time, 3:15. The 3 things you need to know this hour first.
While water levels are up, managers of the Great Salt Lake continue to battle an invasive water-sucking plant that's still causing problems for the lake's ecosystem. I'm KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Second, police say they've recovered a bunch of pride flags that were stolen from homes in Holiday. Third, our biggest traffic trouble spot.
Slowdowns, and it's due to Mother Nature. Both sides of I-15 in Davis County. The rain is coming down. It's very dark out there. Lights and wipers on, but expect delays north and southbound I-15, Farmington up to Hillfield Road. Ricky Neese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Chance for storms today with a high of 82. I'm Matt Johnson.
Cloudy, but not a drop downtown. We're at 74 degrees now. KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Former President Trump could be facing another indictment. ABC News has learned Trump received a letter from the Justice Department indicating he's the subject of a grand jury looking into his handling of classified documents. ABC's Aaron Katursky is in Miami and has more on what it could mean for the special counsel investigation.
That target letter suggests that this is nearing some kind of a resolution, some kind of a charging decision. And at any point, we're told, there could be a request from the special counsel's prosecutors to the grand jury to either return an indictment or not. Now, who it would target, Trump, someone else, that we just don't know.
The Supreme Court issuing a decision today on a key voting rights case. The ruling upholds a key section of the Voting Rights Act and involved Alabama's congressional redistricting map. ABC's Devin Dwyer has more.
They only created one majority black district. That was challenged in court, and today the Supreme Court said that map with one majority black district with a state with 27% of voters being black people is a violation of the Voting Rights Act. It's discriminatory. It dilutes black voting power in that it limits their ability to choose a candidate that they would prefer in that state.
Joran van der Sloot extradited from Peru to Birmingham, Alabama today. He's here in the U.S. to face extortion charges related to the disappearance and death of Natalie Holloway 18 years ago in Aruba. President Biden hosting UK's Prime Minister today for talks. The leaders reaffirmed support for Ukraine against Russian attacks and both pledged to address challenges posed by artificial intelligence.
It not only has the potential to cure cancer and many other things that are just beyond our comprehension, but has the potential to do great damage if it's not controlled.
The president also sending more resources to Canada with those wildfires, the heavy smoke, and skies stretching into the U.S. You're listening to ABC News.
Time now for the KSL In-Depth. A study of gender bias in the Utah workplace shows that there's a difference in perception between men and women about what that means, gender bias, and who's experiencing it. On the newsline with us is Dr. Emily Doralski from the Utah Women in Leadership Project that conducted the study. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So what was the biggest takeaway from your study?
Yeah, so we looked at perceptions of gender bias, how women perceive their experiences of gender bias, and how men perceive women experiencing gender bias. And we see that women are more likely to have higher ratings on these items about gender bias compared to men.
What kind of items? What are we talking about?
Yeah, this was a survey. It's called the Gender Bias Scale, and there's an original that was developed for women and an adapted one that was written for men. And these are questions asking things like, how often do you feel like you're interrupted when you're speaking at work? So they would ask women that question, and then they would ask men a similar question. How often do you feel like women are interrupted at work in conversations?
Now I understand the questions, and I'll ask, what was the answer?
So in that kind of question, we saw that women felt more constrained in their communication than men perceived them as being. So we're just seeing there's this slight gap in perceptions of what's happening in the workplace.
Women perhaps are more sensitive to gender bias, men less so. Is that the finding?
Yes, correct. And, of course, women are the ones experiencing it, and so men may not be quite as aware of when this is happening and that it's affecting the women and how they feel about their work experience.
I don't know if the research goes a ways back, but is the bias greater or is it less today than 10 years ago?
This particular set of data is not longitudinal. It's not looking at different time points, but we did take our data and compare it to two other studies. One was looking at a sample of global men, and one was looking at a national sample of women in the U.S. And we found that our data trends were very similar in both cases. So in that sense, there's some consistency, not just in Utah, but across the nation, even globally, that these perceptions and the gap in those perceptions is there.
So aside from all the insight and the data that we gained from this study by the Utah Women in Leadership Project, men, we learned, don't interrupt women in the workplace. Do I have that right?
Yes, that would be one place to start.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Dr. Emily Doralski on KSL News Radio. It's 3:20. Let's get to this traffic situation. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Here's Ricky Meese.
For those making their way southbound on I-15, we do have a cloudy drive, but so far, roads in Salt Lake County pretty much dry, but delays have set in, and that's from Murray at 53rd South to 90th South Sandy, and looking at a good commute after that all the way to Provo with normal KSL travel times. Delay-free drive on the rest of your Salt Lake County freeway, although traffic troopers are actually in the final cleanup stages of the accident. Eastbound on the 21st South Freeway, not far from Redwood Road, it's out of traffic on the shoulder. Slow down southbound Redwood Road. And this goes from West Valley through that construction zone near 4100 and 4700 South. Steve?
Got some scattered slowdowns on southbound Foothill this afternoon by the golf course out to 21st South. Northbound 15 looking good, though, leaving downtown Salt Lake City until you get into Davis County. Got some rain delays, some slowdowns there from Lagoon all the way up into Layton. Southbound 15, same story, back the other way. Northbound 89, a little slow through Fruit Heights. Actually, that's southbound, Southbound 89 slow from, it looks like, Oak Hills Drive now down into Fruit Heights. Save with Burt Brothers on brand new tires, up to $150 off select Goodyear tires, up to $140 off select Bridgestone tires, and $130 off select Bridgestone or Firestone tires. Burt Brothers, complete auto care done better. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast, it's scattered thunderstorms each and every afternoon on repeat. 82 today, scattered storms possible. 81 tomorrow, isolated storms, so a lesser chance, but it's still there. Back at it on Saturday, 83, scattered storms possible. We do it again on Sunday, 84. How about 79 on Monday, scattered storms possible. Keep your PM thunderstorms in the forecast for Tuesday. Mostly cloudy by next Wednesday, 80 degrees. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
74 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Your 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. We'll check the market numbers and the close on Wall Street coming up in just a moment.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Only on KSL News Radio.
I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. Hey, yo, I'm still not a player, but you still a hater. Elevator to the top, high. See you later, I'm gone. Penthouse suite, penthouse freaks, in-house beach.
I once tried to grill a turkey. I ended up with a flaming carcass. Flames shooting 4 feet in the air. I'm scared to take on steak because you can ruin it. But that never happens at Ruth's Chris. You always get your meat just right, cooked exactly the way you want it. Medium well, but a little more toward medium. They won't flinch. At Ruth's Chris, this is what they do. Serve perfectly prepared steaks, like the ribeye, the New York sirloin, the petite filet. Order it smothered in blue cheese or butter or Oscar style. The chicken, fresh seafood, and lamb are prepared perfectly, too. Brought to your table on hot plates by an expert staff that'll blow you away. Ruth's Chris gives you guaranteed amazing service, and the food is 5-star. They have 2 locations, downtown and Park City. So whether it's a night out in the mountains, or if you're in town for a concert, or you just want a meal that's so good, you'll remember it forever, Ruth's Chris. Park City or Salt Lake. It's unforgettable.
June 15th is Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and the Utah Department of Health and Human Services is hosting a virtual event from 10 to noon. Text SENIOR to 57500 to register. Here's a question. Do you wear dentures? At Grandpa's Dental, you can trade in your floppy dentures and get $2,000 towards an implant-supported solution. You know, they say the older you get, the more you need your teeth. Well, chewing your food isn't a luxury. And taking a bite out of a nice, juicy steak, well, it takes teeth. At Grandpa's Dental, they have over 10,000 restorations under their belt, and it's always affordable. When you walk into one of their 3 locations, you're family, period. At Grandpa's Dental, they live their family legacy by building lasting relationships through state-of-the-art services. So if you want to stop the flop and actually eat foods you can chew, trade in your dentures at Grandpa's Dental for $2,000 toward your implant solution. Schedule your free consultation at grandpasdental.com today. That's grandpasdental.com.
We're watching Utah's money at KSL. General Motors announced today it'll build a $500 million factory in Texas. This plant outside of Dallas will produce GM's gas-powered SUVs. The profits will help pay for the development of electric vehicles. A study from Wells Fargo finds 52% of business owners don't want their kids to carry on in those businesses. The study says owners worry their kids don't know how to build nor protect wealth. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 168 points, the S&P up 26, The Nasdaq gained a full percent, 133 points.
Quality, speed, value for your money, and $1,000 off any roof replacement. That's the IWC advantage. IWC, Intermountain West Contractors, delivers on the things most important to you when it comes time to replace your roof. There could be a dozen different reasons why your roof needs replacement, but just one answer to the problem: IWC. With IWC, you get quality because roof replacement is their specialty, and each job comes complete with the best warranties from the most trusted roofing material manufacturer in America. You get speed because IWC understands your time is valuable. In most cases, they can replace an entire roof in just one day. And with IWC, there's the value of knowing they use top-tier quality materials in every installation and deliver it all at an affordable price. And now, for a limited time, save $1,000 on a roof replacement project. Visit IWCroofing.com or call 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690.
This week's movie show is brought to you by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation by tuning in Friday morning with Sound Sleep Medical, 7 locations in Utah.
You've heard me say it before, Replenish Landscape Garden Products really has everything you need to make your lawn and garden work and look beautiful. Greg's here with me again. So many different products out there. I think people will find it convenient because they can come in, look at the specific product, get it loaded quickly, and get back home to get the job started.
That's what our focus is on bulk and bag materials. Obviously, we're known for the compost itself, which has gained a great reputation, but our soil blends are excellent. We have the bulk box garden blend. We have 4 different colors of wood mulch, 5 or 6 different kinds of shredded bark, and just a variety of things, including sand and gravel.
A lot of these playground chips and things are found in kids' playgrounds all over the valley. Find out why landscapers valley-wide use Replenish Landscape Garden Products. See them at 4660 South, 200 West in Murray. Go to their website at replenishcompost.com or give Greg and Mike a call at 801-262-5142. Replenish. It's good stuff.
It's rush hour. We have traffic and weather together on the 9s. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Here's Ricky Meese.
For those in Summit County, again today, you can expect some slowdowns due to construction if you're traveling northbound on Highway 40 after Park City, but trying to get to the I-80 junction at Silver Summit. Down in the valley, Salt Lake County drivers, delays already in place on southbound I-15. They start in Murray just after 4500 South and go to Sandy at 90th South. Then after that, you have a great drive with good speeds from Sandy all the way to Provo. 215's belt route, the 201 and I-80 are all clear and no problems reported on our main secondaries. Steve?
Northbound 15, busy and slow. Got some rain delays up in the Farmington area by Lagoon up to Kaysville at 200 North. Southbound 15, slow from Layton back to the Lagoon area. Also, Highway 89, slow as well through Fruit Heights into looks like Kaysville now. And we have more slowdowns farther up at SR 193 to the I-84 ramps. Plan for delays on US 40 in Summit County this month. The bridge from US 40 to westbound I-80 is closed through early July for maintenance. Avoid travel during commute times if possible. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Low pressure on the move over Las Vegas right now. That will pump more moisture and thunderstorms into the forecast area today. High of 82. 81 tomorrow. Isolated storms. Go to scattered storms on Saturday. 83. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
It's just about room temperature, 73 in Ogden, 72 degrees in Provo, down in St. George, partly cloudy, 87 degrees.
You're listening to Jeff Caplan's Afternoon News on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon, 3:30 at KSL. Jeff Caplan here, 74 degrees, KSL's top story. Dozens of pride flags have been recovered in Holiday. Unified Police say the thefts in Holiday are related to similar ones in Sandy.
Just like in Sandy, Holiday residents woke up to their pride flags missing from their yards. Some residents even saw the thefts on their doorbell camera apps. Sergeant Melody Cutler shares how the 3 teens responsible were found.
We had an officer make a traffic stop, and she noticed that there were multiple pride flags in this vehicle and started questioning the people.
Sergeant Cutler said that they thought what they were doing was funny and charges will be filed with the juvenile court, and that all but 3 flags have been returned to their owners. Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time, 3:31. Are you ready for more hot days? The people who track this sort of thing say We're likely to get more of them every summer over the next couple of decades. KSL News Radio's Amy Kobabe is live with details. Amy?
Jeff, the data comes from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They looked at each county across the U.S. to predict how many days we'll have above 90 degrees. And we've had just a few of those, a handful so far this year. But by 2050, we could have as many as 60 days in a year over 90 degrees. That would mean the most summer days would be in this extremely hot range. Data from the Utah Climate Center also shows that this is already happening, and we're also seeing those increasingly hot days earlier in the summer and lasting even into the fall. Reporting live, Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio.
Even with the water level rising, the Great Salt Lake still has problems. One of them, an invasive plant that soaks up water and messes with the lake's ecosystem. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Phragmites, or as one water manager described them to me as, quote, frickin' frags, can grow up to 18 feet and have been causing a headache since the 80s.
Really, from a habitat or a kind of environmental component, there's not any benefit to them.
Department of Natural Resources Executive Director Joel Ferry says not only do they use more water than native vegetation, they actually can push the native plants out.
Water managers say with all the water streaming into the lake, more frickin' frags are going to appear. KSL News Time 3:32. Our top national story this hour after the worst day of wildfire smoke ever in the U.S. Things are slightly better in New York, Philadelphia, and Washington today, but that's because the smoke is spreading out over more states. Ball games, Broadway shows, even the National Zoo in Washington were all shut down last night, all because of 250 wildfires burning out of control in eastern Canada. And while some people are wearing masks back east to protect against the smoke, Senator Mike Lee is pointing out that here in Utah, we know all about this problem.
Most Easterners aren't used to dealing with this level of smoke. And by Easterners, I mean basically anybody to the east of Colorado. But this is an unfortunate recurring reality for us in the West.
Lee at a Senate committee hearing looking at the federal response to U.S. wildfires. And Mike Lee isn't the only Utahn breathing that horrible air on the East Coast. We hear from the U.S. Forest Service the Logan Hotshots are up in Canada. They're helping battle the wildfires. We don't know where the Logan Hotshots are because there's no cell phone service in the fire zone, so we haven't seen any pictures or gotten any reports about what they're doing and where they are. They're expected to be out on the front lines for another week. KSL News Time 3:34. A year and a half later, investigators in Boulder County, Colorado have finally determined what caused a wind-whipped wildfire that did billions in damage. Wind gusts of 115 miles an hour fanned the flames of that blaze, and ABC's Alex Stone has more.
It was a firestorm moving through towns in Boulder County.
These high winds really are making it uncontrollable.
Over 1,000 homes were destroyed in a matter of hours. 2 victims vanished, believed to have died in the fire. Over $2 billion in damage was done. Now, a year and a half later, investigators issuing how the fire started. Boulder County Sheriff Curtis Johnson says it was 2 fires, one from a trash fire days earlier that sparked up, and another from arcing power lines that met, creating the monster fire.
I share in that loss as I lost my home to the Marshall Fire.
The decision now that nobody will be charged. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Here along the Wasatch Front, temperatures in the 80s. Boaters are heading back to the lakes and reservoirs, and the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation is reminding you about the safety items required on board.
What the law requires is anyone 12 years and under to have a life jacket on their body, wearing it, properly fastened and fitted.
Utah Division of Recreation Chief of Law Enforcement Steve Bullock tells David Dujanovic there also has to be a life jacket for every adult on board a boat. Also, anyone floating down a river or stream without a boat has to wear a life jacket in Utah. It's the law. KSL News Time 3:35. We have a bit of traffic this afternoon. Early on, Ricky Meese is in the traffic center.
Yeah, the road just got washed out by Mother Nature and the rainfall that came through on I-15 in Davis County, anywhere between Layton and Farmington. And now we have an accident in the mix. This is on the northbound side of I-15 in Kaysville. They have been able to get moved out of traffic over to the right shoulder, but delays continue. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
So my minute of news is coming up, and we're going to talk about Utah's dirty little secret, Diet Coke.
Life is full of firsts. Your first car, first college class, first trip to the ocean, first house, first child, your first day on the job, and your first day of retirement. As you grow, You First is here for all of your important milestones. Come grow with us. You First can help you take each first step towards growing your life's potential. Learn more about how You First can support you through all of life's firsts at youfirstcu.com. That's youfirstcu.com.
This is Jeff Caplan, and I am a blue razzmatazz guy. Now, I know maybe you're all about Simply Mango or maybe Tiger's Blood. No judgment, but when it comes to the highly personal decision of your favorite Frazzle flavor, blue razzmatazz is my jam. Well, really, it's my slushie. Frazzle, in case you don't know, is a delicious, refreshing slushie sold at convenience stores. Frazzle got its start here in Utah 20 years ago, and now you find Frazzle machines at convenience stores from coast to coast. If you've never tried Frazzle, or even if you're already a fan like me, get one free on Free Frazzle Friday, every Friday through June at participating locations. They're celebrating Free Frazzle Friday at Holiday Oil, Maverick, Top Stop, and many other convenience stores. Limit one per person, but load up the car, bring the kids. Everybody gets a 12-ounce Frazzle free. For locations and more, get the Frazzle app or go to freefrazzlefriday.com. Maybe you love Georgia Peach or Tangerango. You're going to love the Frazzle flavors.
Tim and Amanda.
If this is the first time you've ever joined us, can we just say welcome, welcome? I hope you come back and see us again. Tim and I have been doing this for a long time, and we love what we do. But the best part of what we do always and will always be connecting with you.
How many times do we say people don't understand how much information and really love we get from that side of the radio?
Yes.
They thank us for giving it to them, but we get it back so many times.
Wake up with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda, 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio. Start your day with all news in the morning. Then hear Dave and Dejanovic talk about the biggest stories from 9 to noon.
Utah is the fastest growing state out there.
You need to stop blaming Californians.
Breaking news, important talk, all morning on KSL News Radio.
This is My Minute of News, brought to you by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, anyhourservices.com. Diet Coke is not good for you. They suck the sugar out of Coca-Cola, sweeten it up with aspartame, and shoot in some extra caffeine. Yes, a 12-ounce Diet Coke has an extra 11 milligrams of caffeine, making it just like half a cup of coffee. Scientists say the artificial sweetener gives a brief burst of dopamine, but less than you get from sugar, so you want more. And more. The New York Times reports lab rats forced to choose between saccharin and cocaine chose the saccharin 94% of the time. Are you hearing this? Rats addicted to cocaine prefer artificial sweetener. Diet Coke is bad, and it's hard to kick, but if you do, maybe you'll be in the NBA Finals.
Jokic has to put it up. Falling away, puts it up. Bang! Nikola Jokic is a 6'11", 210-pound behemoth who tore up the floor in Game 3 the other night. He's easily the most effective player in basketball, and for the first 3 years of his career in Denver, Jokic drank 3 liters of Diet Coke every day. That's a 2-liter bottle and another half bottle, even sneaking slurps to satisfy his desire in the locker room at halftime. More. But in 2017, Jokic decided to quit Diet Coke cold turkey. He claims that it was easy. After he stopped filling his 6'11" body with the fizz, caffeine, and fake sugar, Jokic says he felt better and got better at basketball to the point where he's now at the pinnacle of his career in the finals, and if the Nuggets win, he gets to raise a glass in celebration. Bang! Nikola Jokic!
But that glass won't be filled with Diet Coke.
Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
3:39, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Ricky Meese has the very latest.
We are already seeing traffic filling in and slowing down southbound I-15 between 4500 South in Murray down to 90th South in Sandy. But then, once you're past those delays, you're actually moving at a very good pace from there all the way to Provo, right on into Spanish Fork and Payson. The rest of your Salt Lake County freeways mostly clear. We've had some rain come through at times, but not enough to bother I-215's Belt Route, I-80, or the 201. In Summit County, slowdowns possible again today. Remember, allow yourself some extra travel time northbound Highway 40 trying to get to the I-80 junction at Silver Summit. Steve?
Good idea heading north. Big backups northbound 15 in Davis County. Travel at a crawl right now from Lagoon into Kaysville. Got a crash in the mix on the right shoulder. That's approaching at about 900 north. More slowdowns farther up, Roy to Riverdale. And you have southbound 15 delays from the Layton Hills Mall down to 200 north in Kaysville. Southbound 89 bogged down from Oak Hills Drive into Fruit Heights. Meanwhile, we're all clear on I-84 and the Legacy Parkway and the West Side Belt. Wake up with a sore back? Upgrade your mattress today at Durden's new sleep center. Durden's Mattresses on 5th South in Bountiful. Durden's, brand you know at prices you'll love. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Thanks to low pressure hanging out in the west, we'll go for scattered thunderstorms today, high of 82. 59 overnight, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow afternoon, 81 scattered storms possible. We'll do it again on Saturday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Rain showers in Provo now at 71 degrees. Thunderstorms in Ogden in 73. It's 71 in Salt Lake City. And I have a question for you. Are you running for Chris Stewart's seat in Congress? Because almost everybody else is, and we're going to go in depth. Coming up on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM, your all-day companion for news.
I'm not feeling too good myself. Yes, sir.
Are you looking for ways to spend more time outdoors with your family? Well, I've got good news. With the weather changing and the sun coming out, now is the time for gardening. Start a new family tradition this spring with a beautiful flower bed or easy container garden. Flower gardening is a great way to get the kids outdoors, getting their hands dirty, and creating something special. So many wonderful life lessons can be learned through nurturing plants, and it's an activity we can do right in our own yards. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with love and care for 80 years. That's a fourth generation, local, family business growing plants and jobs right here in the beautiful mountain valleys of Utah. For more information on gardening with ornamental plants, or to find a garden center that carries flowers from the Olson family, head on over to ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens. That's ogg.com to dream big, dream bold, dream in color.
Introducing Yes, Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Call the pros at Yes and save up to $1,000 on select new energy-efficient HVAC systems. Plus, you get a free whole-home air purification system to help reduce harmful airborne contaminants in your home. The same great people providing the same great service that Utah has counted on for more than 45 years. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment.
Hey, Derek Overstreet here from the New Millennium Group, financial advisors in Utah. You know, I've been helping people retire in the state of Utah for the last 20 years. The way we do that is we actually find out what is important to you. We create a step-by-step plan that takes into consideration your income, your debt, whether you want money from real estate, stock market, annuities, life insurance, whatever. If you want to deal with professionals, people that are fiduciaries and have a legal responsibility and obligation to do what's in your best interest, give my team a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Or go to my website, utahsfinancialplanner.com. If you'd like to retire 3 to 5 years before you thought it was possible, give my team a call right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370.
KSL News Time 3:45. The three things you need to know this hour. First,
the candidates are officially starting to line up to replace Congressman Chris Stewart. KSL is confirmed with 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat thus far. I'm KSL News Radio's Lindsay Ayers.
Second, the smoky blanket billowing across the eastern U.S. and Canada from wildfires in Quebec could stick around through the weekend. Third, our biggest traffic trouble spot.
Trouble in traffic, possible injuries, 500 South and Main Street, and leftover rain delays. This is northbound I-15 from the Highway 89 split all the way through Kaysville. More slowing from Hill Air Force Base up to Ogden. Ricky Mason, the KSL Traffic Center.
You guessed it, more thunderstorms back on the forecast. I'm Matt Johnson.
Storms in Ogden, rain in Provo. It's cloudy in Salt Lake City now. KSL's top national stories from ABC News.
Sources tell ABC News that federal prosecutors have told former President Trump that he's the target of a criminal probe.
The investigation has to do with his handling of classified documents after he left the White House. Former Vice President Mike Pence, himself running for president, says he doesn't think his former boss should be prosecuted.
The unprecedented action of a federal indictment of a former president of the United States, I think, would be extraordinarily divisive in our country, and I think it would send a terrible message to the wider world.
The Supreme Court ruling that Alabama's congressional redistricting maps violate the Voting Rights Act. The active phase of the Ukrainian counteroffensive against Russia has begun, confirms 2 Ukrainian officials. Back on U.S. soil, Joran Vandersloot, the chief suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Natalie Holloway. He arrived in the United States today on board an FBI-operated plane to face charges that he attempted to extort money from the missing woman's mother. I'm Dave Packer, ABC News.
Time for the in-depth on KSL, and the race to replace Congressman Chris Stewart is on. They've been talking about this more than a bit on KSL at night and this afternoon here in the studio. Joining us live, Leah Murray, one of the KSL at night hosts. So, Leah, we don't have an opening for a seat in Congress like this often. To politicians, this is an opportunity and big, bright lights. So they're all lining up to be a part of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the really interesting thing that you just said is usually we know I'm going to run my campaign. I know when I'm running. I've got money. I've got donors. I figured all that stuff out. And Jeff, what's happening is because it's so fast, they're all lining up. But, man, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen.
You heard Lindsay just mention there are 3 Republicans, 1 Democrat in the race. But she has a list of 20 people who are mulling or considering at this point. How do you stand out in a race like that of so many people called so hastily? You don't necessarily have the public's attention.
Right. I mean, I think the answer to that actually is a lot about name recognition. So the 3 people that Lindsay confirmed earlier was Becky Edwards, Greg Hughes, Bruce Hoff. I'm watching her Twitter feed, as I'm sure everyone is, and it looks like Jordan Hess is also thinking about it. So you're right, huge list. So I feel like it gives people like Greg Hughes an advantage because he's already run a statewide race, Jeff, and this is a huge district. So he would have some ability and capacity to do it as quickly as they're going to need to do it.
Now, I'd love to have an argument about this. I think the turnout in this election is going to be abysmal because it's going to be a Thanksgiving. You're worried about how much you're paying per pound for turkey, and you got to vote?
Yeah, but remember, we're going to send ballots to everybody. So voter turnout, when you have an election day at a weird time, like the Tuesday of Thanksgiving, if I had to show up to vote, would be abysmal turnout. But voter turnout when everyone's going to get their ballots, does that make sense, Jeff? They're going to know they're supposed to vote.
If it's right there in front of you,
you
can take care of it. I get it. So the legislature is going to hold this special session to vote on the formal date of the election. Some of these state lawmakers will help decide the rules of the election, and then they're going to go run in the election. Is that okay?
I don't know I love how you're asking that question. I'm not sure how cool it is, if that makes sense, but I think it's totally legal. And I do think some of the people might be waiting, Jeff, to see what the special session comes forth with before they make a decision.
So they're staying mum until after the vote, and then they'll announce, I am running, and like that.
Yeah, because remember, the filing deadline to run is 5 p.m. the same day as the special session next week.
Leah Murray from KSL at Night, thanks for joining us. September 15th, I believe, that's the day Congressman Chris Stewart has announced his resignation.
That is correct. And then they're going to have a primary and then the general election, right? So also think about conventions. They are putting together conventions really quickly to get their nominees.
Lots of drama to come. KSL News Time 3:49. Emergency traffic were brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. And here's Ricky Meese.
Emergency traffic in Davis County. The rain came through, washed everything out, but now we are dealing with not only the delays, but accidents. We're going to start on the southbound side. There is a crash. I'm going to say it's a little past Layton Parkway. It had been moved over to the left, but it has brought traffic to a standstill with delays all the way back to 700 South Clearfield. Then on the northbound side of I-15, delays stretch from about Glover Lane all the way up to the Kaysville Ponds. In the mix, 2 crashes. One northbound I-15 at State Street, Highway 89 in Farmington, now to the right shoulder, and then one up in Kaysville. But then more delays are waiting for you northbound on I-15 as you go from Hill Air Force Base all the way up to 31st Street. Steve?
Pretty good drive on southbound 15 as you leave downtown Salt Lake City. Got the usual delays, though, waiting for you. Murray out to Sandy right now. Looks like a crash on the 201 westbound at about I-80 on the right shoulder. Another crash with possible injuries in downtown Main Street at 5th South. and a crash on 21st South at 17th East. Make Father's Day easy and get the best gift ever, a blanket or robe from Minky Couture. Shop online at minkycouture.com or any Minky store. Best gift ever. Minky Couture. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast is littered with scattered thunderstorms. We'll go for 82 today with a chance for PM storms popping up between the hours of 2 and 7 p.m. 81 tomorrow, scattered storms. We keep it in the forecast Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Highs drop in the upper 70s Monday, Tuesday, but then pop back up to 80, mostly cloudy skies by next Wednesday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Skies are actually brightening in Salt Lake City. We're at 71 degrees, your 7-day forecast. Brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. Airlines are starting to grant smoke waivers. We'll check Utah's money news in just a moment on KSL. It's 3:52.
Dare to find a new way to think about energy, one that connects our lives like never before and creates a world where we can breathe easy. NewScale dared by making 24/7 carbon-free energy a reality with our Voyager SMR power plants. Let's see how bright the future can be when cleaner, safer energy is available to all. NewScale, power to the world, power for all humankind. Discover the future of energy at newscalepower.com.
This Father's Day, visit Boot Barn for quality gifts and personalized services. Gifts range from durable suede jackets to premium exotic cowboy boots, iconic Western shirts, heavy-duty jeans, and work boots. We provide local same-day gift delivery with gift wrapping and a card included. You can enjoy in-store pickup with $20 off your next order, and our team of experts can help guide you as you shop when you visit your local Boot Barn.
It doesn't get better than summer camping in Utah, and it doesn't get any bigger than the Utah Summer RV Palooza, presented by Bish's RV. We're bringing the biggest RV show in the region to Layton, June 8th through the 10th, for 3 days only. The Layton Hills Mall is where you'll find a massive selection of top RV brands like Go Play, Ember RV, Forest River, Northwood, and a whole lot more. Get up to 20% below cost on select new 2022 RVs, and get 90 days no payments on approved credit for all play and no pay till September OAC. Summer RV Palooza is where you'll find a brand new 26 BH travel trailer. It's high quality at an undeniable value at a sale price of only $19,995. The selection is huge, and so are the trade-in offers. Get max value for your current RV when you trade in at the show. Shop the Summer RV Palooza now at bishes.com/Utah RV Palooza. 3 days only, June 8th through the 10th at the Layton Hills Mall. Sponsored by Bish's RV.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Summer 2023 will be one to remember.
Mike Pence and Chris Christie set to enter the race.
Governor Cox is actively looking for trade away from China.
Brace for higher gas prices. It's a summer to camp out on KSL. Tim and Amanda have breaking news. Mornings 5 to 9. David Dujanovic and Boyd Matheson talk about the biggest stories during the day. And you get updates and Jeff Caplan's Minute of News from 3 to 7 on the drive home. The summer of 2023 will be on KSL News Radio.
We're watching Utah's money at KSL. The sun is shining on the solar industry. Their trade association says solar panel sales are expected to triple by 2028. They're already up 30% over the past year, with sales highest in places where the sun shines the most, Florida and California. American Airlines says they are waiving fees if you have to rebook your flight because of the wildfire smoke. You're saying there's no wildfire smoke here, but there might be at your destination, with the East Coast blanketed by this epic shroud of smoke from Canada. Businesses are relying ever more heavily on teenagers to fill their job openings. A payroll processing company called Gusto reports 1 out of every 5 summer hires this year is under age 18. Kids are more interested because the pay is improving. On Wall Street today, the Dow is up 168. It closed at 33,833. The S&P up 26. The Nasdaq gained a full percentage point, up 133 points. This is the 100-day countdown to Cougar football. Here's BYU insider Mitch Harper.
By being a member of a new conference, BYU will have some road venues that they have never played in before. 4 of BYU's 6 road games in 2023 are in new venues for the Cougars, starting off with non-conference foe Arkansas on September 16th in SEC country. Then 1 week later, BYU opens up Big 12 play against Kansas. BYU makes its first trip to Morgantown to face West Virginia on November 4th. Then BYU faces Oklahoma State. It'll be the first trip to Stillwater for the Cougars. The other 2 road games are trips BYU has made in the past. TCU on October 14th. It'll be BYU's first trip to Fort Worth since 2010. Then 2 weeks later, BYU will face the Texas Longhorns. The last time BYU was in Austin, a guy named Taysom Hill ran kind of wild.
Taysom Hill went for 6. What a score!
For all the latest insight into BYU's 2023 schedule, check out the KSL Sports app. Countdown to Cougar football. 86 days to go. I'm Mitch Harper, KSL Sports.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-330-1991. That's 1-800-330-1991. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-330-1991. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Find out first. Register for breaking news alerts from us by texting the Cyprus Credit Union KSL text line. Just text the word news to 57500.
Boyd Matheson helps you to think about the news differently.
Social capital is what makes it all go around. Neighbor helping neighbor in need.
Join an elevated conversation. Inside sources from 1 to 3. Then Jeff Caplan and his Minute of News on the drive home on KSL News Radio.
Emergency traffic. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. What's going on, Ricky?
It's a rough drive for commuters on I-15 in Davis and Weber counties. We have unusual stop-and-go delays southbound I-15 from the base at Hill all the way into Layton and Kaysville due to a crash that happened not far from Layton Parkway over to the left. It's been cleared, but the delays linger. And then northbound I-15, 2 accidents, one in Farmington, the next in Kaysville. So your first stretch of delay will go from Centerville to the Kaysville Ponds, then more slowing from Clearfield all the way up to 31st Street, Ogden. Steve?
Southbound 15 slowdowns, Murray out to Sandy, also with the point. Southbound Bangor, a little busy there at California Avenue. Got a crash on SR 201 at the I-80 merge out there by the Great Salt Lake on the right shoulder, plus a new crash in downtown North Temple and 2400 West. For a top-quality kitchen or bath with top-quality craftsmanship, call 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. They're always on time with no delays and meet all deadlines. Visit 3daykitchen.com. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. Yes, thunderstorms around with your high 82 this afternoon. Partly cloudy, 59 overnight tomorrow. Same story, thunderstorms likewise Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So let's see who wants Chris Stewart's job. Stay right here. The story's coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
Good afternoon, 4 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Caplan. We have thunderstorms around 73 in Salt Lake City. KSL's top story, the list of candidates who want to fill Congressman Chris Stewart's seat is taking shape. Both Republicans and Democrats are jumping in, and we have 2 reporters covering all you need to know about the special election. Our team coverage begins with KSL News Radio's Lindsay Aerts.
What I can tell you right now is I have confirmed with Greg Hughes Bruce Huff, I just talked to Jordan Hess. He's the current vice chair of the Republican Party. He says he does intend to file. And then there's State Senator Todd Weiler, who says if he decides to run, he will file next Wednesday. Now, on the Democratic side, only one name has come forward to say they will be running. That is State Senator Kathleen Reeby.
Candidates have till next Wednesday to declare their candidacy, and we're getting a better idea of how much this special election is going to cost. Spoiler alert. It's going to be expensive. KSL News Radio's Amy Kobabe is live with details. Amy.
Jeff, we're still working out the exact numbers, but Salt Lake County Clerk Lainey Chapman says that just the cost of the paper will be an additional $250,000 in Salt Lake County. And that doesn't even account for the postage or man hours. Plus, because we're just having municipal elections, or we were going to just have municipal elections in November, many voters weren't even going to get a ballot, let alone a whole primary election.
We would not have had a primary for most of the Congressional District 2 cities.
Chapman also says that she's not sure yet on how this will all impact voter turnout.
This is going to add a nuance that none of us have ever dealt with before. I cannot think in our history when we've changed the dates for a municipal election, if we ever have.
As for if it's all worth it, Utah GOP Chair Robert Axson says it's worth it because of how important that congressional vote is in D.C.
And so if we cower away from making the appropriate investment to execute elections and have fair and transparent and trusted, verifiable elections, that has repercussions in the entire system of government that I don't think we should ever be comfortable with.
Reporting live, Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio.
Thanks, Amy. Our top national story this hour, former President Trump is bracing for a possible indictment in the investigation over his handling of classified documents. ABC's Pierre Thomas reports from Washington.
The letter is consequential, and it basically states that he has been the subject of an ongoing grand jury investigation. And the point of such a letter, when you read the Department of Justice guidelines, which I have, is to notify a suspect that he's not a witness, that he is the target of an investigation, and that an indictment is likely impending.
A letter from the Justice Department to the former president. Republicans on Capitol Hill are responding to these developments.
Senate Republicans were very careful not to get ahead of the DOJ on a possible indictment of former President Donald Trump. Senator Tom Tillis says he's waiting to see what the indictment would reveal.
If there is an indictment, what it entails, and then ask me questions when we've got a real situation versus a hypothetical. We really don't know if there is an indictment, what the scope of it's going to be.
Ike Ajachi, ABC News, Washington.
The Supreme Court has ruled in favor of black voters in a congressional redistricting case in Alabama. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh joined with the court's liberals, affirming a lower court ruling that found a likely violation of the Voting Rights Act. The map had one majority black seat out of 7 congressional districts in a state where more than 1 in 4 residents is black. Police have identified the 2 people found dead in a Hiram home this morning, both with gunshot wounds. KSL News Radio's Hugo Ricard-Bell has more. He's joining us live. Hugo?
Bodies of 38-year-old Dustin Priest and 37-year-old Heather Priest were discovered last night by their 16-year-old daughter.
They're residents of Hiram. We don't have a history with that family. We haven't been there in the past for any type of domestic violence type cases, but the end result, I think that's what this case was.
That was Cache County Sheriff Chad Jensen. He says after talking to the medical examiner and reviewing evidence, it seems as though Dustin Priest shot his wife and then took his own life in an apparent murder-suicide. Sheriff Jensen also told me that the last time they dealt with something like this in his county was around 2 years ago, so it's a horrible shock for the close-knit community. Exactly what went down and why has yet to be released, as an investigation is still underway. Reporting live, Hugo Ricard-Bell, KSL News Radio.
The Salt Lake City Police Department is seeing a spike in hang-up calls to 911. Officer Dalton Beebe says if you noticed you accidentally called, stay on the line. Tell them.
Don't just hang up, because what that causes us to do is sometimes that prompts a response from officers. Sometimes we have to go to the dispatch location, and obviously that takes up time and resources that could otherwise be allocated to other areas.
Salt Lake police aren't sure why they're seeing so many calls, but they say it could be because of a recent Android update that is automatically calling 911. KSL News Time 4:05. Ricky Meese is here. First Look Traffic. Safe to say traffic is a mess this afternoon.
It's a very rough start to the Thursday afternoon drive home, particularly on I-15, and it could be either direction, anywhere between Ogden and Centerville. But we also have some issues on the surface streets. North Temple, 2400 West, a crash there. One also downtown where it does involve a TRAX train at 5th South and Main. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Thanks, Ricky. My minute's next.
If you're getting new gutters, make absolutely sure that you don't get screwed. I mean literally, don't get screwed. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And every single gutter company out there uses screws to hold their gutters together at the corners and downspouts. They use screws because they're fast and cheap and easy. But man, they're terrible for your gutters, aside from possibly cutting your hand. They also loosen and corrode over time because they're not made from the same metal as the gutters. At RGS Exteriors, we've been installing gutters for 70 years now, and we don't use screws. We only use permanent, strong, and unobtrusive rivets. They're made from the same material as the gutters, so they won't oxidize, and they won't corrode. They'll also never loosen. Your hand is safe too. Did I mention they look amazing? So don't get screwed. Call RGS and get riveted gutters. Our number is 801-280-3110, or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110, or rgsutah.com.
Here's a question. Do you wear dentures? At Grandpa's Dental, you can trade in your floppy dentures and get $2,000 towards an implant-supported solution. You know, they say the older you get, the more you need your teeth. Well, chewing your food isn't a luxury. And taking a bite out of a nice, juicy steak, well, it takes teeth. At Grandpa's Dental, they have over 10,000 restorations under their belt, and it's always affordable. When you walk into one of their 3 locations, you're family, period. At Grandpa's Dental, they live their family legacy by building lasting relationships through state-of-the-art services. So if you want to stop the flop and actually eat foods you can chew, trade in your dentures at Grandpa's Dental for $2,000 toward your implant solution. Schedule your free consultation at grandpasdental.com today. That's grandpasdental.com. Take a break from financial worries. Meet the Mountain America debt consolidation expert for a chance to win a vacation package. Details at macu.com/debt-rescue.
This is My Minute of News, brought to you by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, anyhourservices.com. For years now, the award for most expensive midlife crisis ever went to Elon Musk. Back when he was 46, he blasted a rocket ship into space, and the payload was a red Tesla sports car.
3, 2, 1.
You never heard this out there in the dark void, but the convertible was blasting David Bowie's song Life on Mars.
Is there life on Mars?
Now that's a midlife crisis, but Jeff Bezos is back on Earth saying, hold my beer. A little late to the party at age 59, the workaholic turned playboy who launched Amazon is giving Elon a run for his money. Bezos traded in his wife for a different model. He gave his ex $34 billion and took up with a helicopter pilot, ex-TV anchor from L.A. named Lauren Sanchez. But we're just getting started. Bezos proposed to her aboard his newly built boat. It's the world's largest sailboat, a $500 million yacht with sails that stretches 417 feet. Wait, there's more. Bezos also built a second boat with a helicopter just to trail behind the first one. Pointing from the front of this gigantic yacht, you know how there's often a statue of a woman jutting out from the front of old-time vessels? Look, that's a full-blooded Lauren Sanchez statue. She's wearing a sheer, skin-tight gown that leaves nothing, and I stress nothing, to the imagination. And imagine this. To top it off, the engagement ring Bezos gave the flesh and blood Lauren Sanchez is worth $20 million. Now that's a midlife crisis, though Elon Musk might argue that he's still number one because he bought Twitter.
Jeff Caplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
This is Emergency Traffic. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. The latest. Here's Ricky Meese.
I-15 still recovering from earlier crashes and rainfall on the northbound side. We do have heavy traffic going to the north interchange in North Salt Lake, but the real delays are waiting for you from Parish Lane in Centerville up to just past the Kaysville Ponds, where we had a couple of crashes. One by the Highway 89 split at State Street in Farmington, and then one by the Kaysville Ponds, both of those out of traffic. More delays then will pick up at Clearfield all the way up to 31st Street in Ogden, southbound I-15. A crash that we had in Layton really brought traffic to a crawl, and it has backed traffic all the way through Clearfield. Mark?
You don't have any major problems or severe delays out west on SR 36 Mountain View or Bangerter, but you have long delays SR 201 westbound prior to I-80 due to a crash. I-15 is good in Utah County, but very slow southbound through Nephi, so heads up for travelers. Steve.
In downtown Salt Lake City right now, Trax train versus car with a car crash with injuries. Main Street 5th South. Right now, Main Street is closed between 6th South and Main Street, so you'll want to find another alternate through there. Southbound I-15 slowdowns, Murray out to Sandy. In Summit County, got construction delays on Highway 40 by the Home Depot there approaching I-80. Don't drink and boat, save it for the shore. Alcohol and boating don't mix. Protect yourself and others on the water and boat sober or get pulled over. Don't let alcohol sink your fun. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Thanks to low pressure hanging out in the west, we'll go for scattered thunderstorms today, high of 82. 59 overnight, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow afternoon, 81 scattered storms possible. We'll do it again on Saturday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
74 degrees in Salt Lake. Oh, hello, guys.
Hi there. I'm on my way, I'm making it.
Just saying hello to our good friends because this portion of the show is brought to you by Advanced Window Products. Our good friends Nate Orchard and Jake Weber are here live in the studio. So how's business, guys?
Business is great, Jeff. It's always good to be on the show with you, but yeah, business is good.
You're how many weeks out are you if you book for window treatments now?
We're looking at about 8 weeks now. With the weather being the way it is, the beautiful sunshine, now's the time to get on the schedule. We're sitting at about 8 weeks, so you call today, we'll be on our way, get you on the books and measurements and everything, and get your windows built. And our time frame right now is 8 weeks.
I'm just thinking about this. You do this work in the winter, right?
Exactly.
And you take the windows out of people's houses, and it gets cold, right?
Right. It gets cold, and so while you have your AC cranking right now, and it's beautiful outside, give us the opportunity to come in your home, be in and out quick, and leave you with a beautiful product and letting some beautiful light come into your home.
Jake, I'm getting ahead of things with Nate here. We should tell everybody what Advanced Window Products does. First of all, you're a Salt Lake City company.
Yeah, that's right. We are a local company here headquartered in Salt Lake City. We manufacture, we sell, we install windows. When we give you a lifetime warranty on those windows.
Double pane windows that come with rebates from the energy companies, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have rebates from Dominion Energy and from Rocky Mountain Power, and our windows qualify for.
So why do I need new windows?
It's warm outside right now. It's warm. I know that weather in the past, it was cold. We had some really cold weather for a long time. It is shifting, and it's going to be getting warm very quickly. And those windows that you have single pane, those old aluminum windows, just let that heat in. And your energy bills are going to be skyrocketing this summer. So we're here to help with that.
Simple reason, makes perfect sense. And usually you come in here with a special offer for our listeners. Aside from the 60-month 0% financing that you usually offer, aside from the rebates from Dominion and Rocky Mountain Power, what you got for our people?
Hey, we want to help people now. We want to help people today. If you call, get on the books. You have Rob waiting there to take your call. Get on the books, get on his schedule today, and we'll give you $3,000 off 10 windows or more.
That's pretty seismic. $3,000 off 10 windows or more if you call now. Rob is standing by. Here's the number for Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or you can visit them at advancedwindowsusa.com.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, you're starting to speak another language.
Babbel's lessons are voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no better way than
Babbel. Text radio to 64,000 to try Babbel for free. Text radio to 64,000.
We have breaking news at KSL News Radio. Brigham City Police say somebody intentionally drove through the front doors and the lobby of Brigham City Hall. Police say this man was having a mental health crisis. They say nobody was injured and the man is now in custody. We'll have more details as they become available here at KSL News Radio. The three things you need to know this hour. First,
we're already seeing a trend of more hot days in Utah each summer, and climatologists predict the number will continue to climb. I'm KSL News Radio's Amy Kobe.
Second, a new poll of Utah Republicans shows Donald Trump has the slimmest of leads over Ron DeSantis. This new Deseret News Hinckley Institute poll shows 27% of the state GOP voters picked Trump, DeSantis with 26. Third, our biggest traffic trouble spot.
Rain came through and brought on early onset delays for Davis County drivers. Expect northbound slowdowns anywhere from Centerville all the way to Ogden, and still some leftover southbound slowing going from Clinton through Kaysville. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looks like scattered thunderstorms stay in the forecast for the next 6. I'm Matt Johnson.
73 degrees now. KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packard. A possible indictment of former President Trump could be coming soon. Prosecutors handling the probe have been spotted at a Miami courthouse where a grand jury has been hearing from witnesses. ABC's Aaron Katursky is in Miami.
All day here at the court, we saw members of the special counsel's team go in and out of a grand jury room. What they were doing, we can't know any of that because of grand jury secrecy. But we do know this grand jury has been hearing evidence for some time, along with one in Washington, D.C., and that reflects the two different places where potential criminal conduct may have occurred. The moving of the documents from Washington, D.C., where they belonged, down here to Florida, and then moving them in a storage unit, maybe mishandling them, maybe trying to cover up those movements.
A major Supreme Court ruling upholding the Voting Rights Act, finding Alabama's newly drawn voter maps deny black voters a voice. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh joining the liberal justices in the 5-4 decision. Duell Ross with the Legal Defense Fund.
This is a really important decision. It has implications nationally for voting rights litigation all over the country, including in places like Georgia and Louisiana.
Alabama will now have to redraw its maps. That could give Democrats another seat in the House. The main suspect in Alabama teen Natalie Holloway's 2005 disappearance, Joran Vandersloot, is on American soil behind bars in Birmingham. He's facing extortion and wire fraud charges for allegedly demanding $250,000 from Holloway's mother. Canada dealing not just with wildfires in the east. Bawin Ma is Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness in British Columbia.
This wildfire season in British Columbia is already well underway and has been since mid-April. There are currently 82 wildfires burning across the province.
The eastern fires blanketing U.S. East Coast cities. You're listening to ABC News.
Time for the in-depth on KSL. Great idea, great time-saving idea. A lawyer in New York decided to use ChatGPT for his legal research. For a case, he had ChatGPT prepare his briefs, and he submitted them to the court. It did not go well. Joining us live in the studio, KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas. Greg, tell us about this case.
It did not go well. It's a bit of an understatement, Jeff. In fact, what happened was he didn't even read the brief that ChatGPT produced, allegedly, or at least apparently, because it quoted and cited cases that don't exist. It has apparently some part of its app where it sort of fills in the blanks with things, and in this case it actually made up a couple of precedent cases which he was citing as precedent for the judge who read it to look at and say, hey, wait a minute, we've already decided this in this one case and this in another case. Those cases didn't exist. He didn't even bother to check the citations on his own brief.
So wait, it's kind of like, well, in the well-known case of Sullivan versus Giamotto, precedent was set because blah, 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 and those cases just never happened and never existed, and he submitted this to the judge?
Right, and so in effect, Jeff, it's almost like he's misrepresenting facts to the court. Now, in this case, he didn't. It was more sloppy than misrepresentative, but nonetheless, it was wrong. He's been brought before the state bar. He's going to be sanctioned. He's going to have some issues involved with that. And you would expect, Jeff, that his credibility going forward, that whatever he does in the future, and even his work ethic. I mean, if you're so busy that you wait until the last minute to have ChatGPT write your 2-minute brief, maybe you think you ought to be doing something else.
How much does he bill for creating that 2-minute brief?
That's what you got to wonder.
It's kind of fraud. So have you ever thought of using ChatGPT at all in your practice?
I haven't, and I don't particularly even have it. But I wouldn't have a problem, Jeff, with somebody saying, ChatGPT, write me a brief on this issue, and then spending a half a day going through the citations, fixing it, tweaking it. Maybe it's a C+ work. In this case, it was a D- work, but maybe you can fluff it up. But I'm just relying on it without doing any research to check the citations. I mean, you wouldn't even have your law clerk write a brief without checking the work that's done and making sure that all the citations are correct.
Real quick, when you hire a lawyer, should you ask him if he uses ChatGPT and how?
Yeah. Well, you can expect after this poor guy that people just aren't going to do. I mean, if the next person that makes this mistake is going to get in real trouble because now they know.
Thanks, Greg. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas joining us live. It's emergency traffic on KSL. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Listen to Ricky Meese.
We are actually starting to see a little bit of improvement. The delays are not clear, but we're not seeing as many stop-and-go delays. And I mean, you are just inching along, but it is still really jammed up and slow. Northbound I-15 from Centerville through Kaysville, and again from 700 South Clearfield into Ogden. Now, the southbound side of I-15, that became slow due to rain and a crash that happened on the southbound side. So we're still seeing slowdowns going from the very top end of Clearfield all the way to the Kaysville Ponds. And now Legacy Parkway starting to see traffic building and a little slow in spots northbound from Woods Cross up to I-15. Mark?
Well, SR 201, you got westbound delays prior to I-80 out west. That's due to a crash. Don't have any major problems or severe delays on SR 36, though. Mountain View Bangor getting their normal heavy between SR 201 and Kearns, and I-15 is good in Utah County, but very slow southbound through Nephi right now. Steve.
And in downtown, it's train versus car crash right now. Main Street at 6 South. A couple of other crashes in the downtown area, 10th West and 4 South, also North Temple at 2400 West. Meantime, southbound I-15 delays are there, typical from Murray out to Sandy right now. And we have delays right there near Bluffdale, near the IKEA. Otherwise, pretty good speeds on the northbound side. Looks like slowdowns on the South Belt, eastbound I-215 approaching I-15. From now on through July, get triple rewards points on gas and travel with a Visa Platinum Rewards Card from Cypress Credit Union. Visit cypresscu.com to learn more. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Your 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive, Bountiful. Kevin Eubank, we have some wicked storms going on.
Yes, there have been some real big cells that have rumbled through parts of Tooele County, Davis County, on the I-15 corridor, all the way up into Cache County right now. There's a big cell on top of Grantsville out in Tooele Valley. There's another big cell on top of Logan and Smithfield up in Cache County. They're impressive. Lightning, thunder, wind, and rain. Temperatures went into the 80s for our high. We've been to 82. But currently we're down into the 70s with those dark clouds around. Storms will go to bed tonight, but hey, Jeff, you know the story. They'll be back tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday and Monday. Next 7 days, active in the afternoons, highs in the 80s, lows in the 50s, and the pattern holds through the middle of next week.
Well, at least we get the placid mornings.
There you go.
It's 71 degrees and windy. Thank you, Kevin. KSL News Time, 424.
I lost 34 pounds on the SOTA weight loss system, and I did it like a year and a half ago now. Has it been that long?
It has.
Oh, my gosh. It seems like yesterday because it was so simple. I know you think of weight loss, especially losing 34 pounds or more, as being just an incredibly difficult thing. And it has been at other times in my life, but not with SOTA. With SOTA, I just did what they told me. I can follow directions. Eat this then. Okay. I did that. And in 3 months, I lost the weight, and now it's been over a year and a half, and I've kept it off.
I was just thinking how rare it is that somebody would say, I lost a certain number of pounds a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
That's unheard of
Yeah.
for many people because they'll lose the weight and then they gain it back. Plus, they usually put on a few pounds over and above that. My daughter lost 42 pounds and she's still down. Thanks to the great people at Soda Weight Loss. No pills, no counting calories, no appetite suppressants. Let this program work for you or somebody in your family. Go to sodaweightloss.com. Spelled SOTA. Think Tim and Amanda. It is state of the art.
This week's movie show is brought to you by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation by tuning in tomorrow morning with Sound Sleep Medical. 7 locations in Utah. We're watching Utah's money at KSL News Radio. On Wall Street today, the Dow is up 168 points, the S&P up 26. The NASDAQ gained 133 points. That's a gain of 1%. It's 425 at KSL News Radio. This portion of the show is brought to you by Advanced Window Products. Our good friends Nate Orchard and Jake Weber are back here live in the studio. Nate, you guys do financing. Look, people don't necessarily have money right now. There's inflation. Everybody has problems. You help people out to get their windows done?
Exactly. I mean, we got financial options to work with anybody's budget.
Yeah, and that's what, like, as we said earlier, Rob is waiting for your call. Get on the phone, talk to Rob. You call him. Rob is one of our sales reps, and he'll come out to your home, and he'll be able to explain to you what is best for your home. What do you need in your home as far as your windows? What design, what type of window, the style of window. And then he's able to give you a price on the spot. He's able to break down that price and let you know where you're able to save some costs. And then, look, if you can't afford those windows right now, we have options for any budget from over if you want to have a small payment over 10 years or you want to wait 12 months to pay any of it down, 0 interest, 0 payment for 12 months, we can do that for you. And Rob is able to sit down with you and kind of break down those numbers for you, figure out how you can get new windows today.
So in the commercials, we say 60-month, 0% financing, but like the windows, financing can be custom when you work with Advanced Window Products.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like we say the 60-month, 0% financing, we have a plethora of other options, whatever is best for you and your budget. But we want to be able to help the local people of Salt Lake City and the greater Salt Lake area here in Utah get the windows that they need, and we want to make it give it to them at an affordable price.
We have to stress that this is a Utah company building your windows in Salt Lake City to precision spec double pane. What are they? Argon-filled windows?
Yeah, argon-filled, low E 366.
I paid attention.
Jeff was there.
Low E 366.
Yeah,
you got it, Jeff.
Jeff was there.
It's a wonderful plant that you have there. In fact, it's right up the street, and we're so pleased that you're here offering us a special deal this afternoon only. $3,000 off on 10 windows or more, but you have to call Rob back at the office this afternoon. Here's their phone number, Advanced Window Products, shop local, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
Right on cue for summer. OPEC plans to cut oil production. Gas prices are headed up.
It could drive up prices for other goods.
Whether you're planning a staycation or a day trip, start your summer here. Get updates on traffic out of town, gas prices, and everything you need to know. Listen each day this summer, mornings and afternoons, to KSL News Radio.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, there's a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the Nines are brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Here's Ricky Meese.
Delays continue southbound I-15 from South Salt Lake to Sandy, and northbound I-15. It is getting busy as you go from about 3900 south to about 13 south. And then westbound on the 21st South Freeway, some slowing approaching I-215's west belt. Mark?
A big hot spot out west is a crash. Westbound SR 201. UDOT says it's closed at I-80. It is awfully heavy. Use SR 202 as an alternate. Mountain View and Bangor are heavy between SR 201 and Kearns. Bangor again down at 9800 south. And I-15 is good in Utah County, but very heavy through Nephi. Steve.
Well, in downtown Salt Lake City, cops still clearing up that train tracks train versus car crash, Main Street 6 South. Another fresh crash on 5th South and 3rd West. Northbound 15 delays at Warm Springs Road in Centerville as well, plus Lagoon into Kaysville and Clearfield to Riverdale. It's the summer tour sales event at Murdoch Hyundai. Receive 0% for 3 years on a new Tucson or Santa Fe. Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, Murray, or online at murdochhyundai.com. Steve Carlson at the KSL Traffic Center.
Our scattered thunderstorms continue to be the story each afternoon. Temperatures get into the 80s, but the minute those storms come in, they quickly cool into the 60s and 70s. Tonight, partly cloudy and 56. Day starts out partly cloudy Friday, but more afternoon thunderstorms with a high of 82. We'll hit repeat and do the same on Saturday. Mostly cloudy 84 with a chance of some thunderstorms on Sunday. More widespread rain and 70s for Monday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank.
You're listening to Jeff Caplan's Afternoon News on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon, 4:30 at KSL. Jeff Caplan here, 71 and windy in Salt Lake City. KSL's top story, dozens of stolen pride flags have been recovered in Holiday. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera has the story.
Residents in Holiday and Sandy woke up to their pride flags missing. But thanks to an officer who spotted 3 teens with a car full of pride flags in the Mill Creek area, those flags have been returned. The officer said that those teens thought what they were doing was funny. Holiday Unified Police said that charges will be brought to juvenile court.
This follows Sandy's mayor, Zoltansky, addressing concerns over recent patterns of pride flag thefts. This might be a sign to install a pool now. New climate data shows that more and more hot days are going to be coming each summer. KSL News Radio's Amy Kobabe is live to explain. Amy?
Jeff, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration predicts we'll have 60 days over 90 degrees by the year 2050. That's a lot of numbers. So that'll mean more extremely hot days each summer than not. But climatologists here in Utah say we're already seeing this rise.
No surprise that those are the findings that we're seeing, and the projections have been that way for at least a couple iterations of global climate model projections.
John Mayer with Utah Climate Center says extreme heat is the #1 weather killer in the world. But he also says we're seeing these hot days extend further into spring and fall. So we're having more and more days each summer, which is making it harder to climb out of the drought. Reporting live, Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio.
Thanks, Amy. Utah's forecast for the next few days is calling for rain, thunder, and lightning. KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank says you should pay attention to your surroundings if you're outside during one of these afternoon storms.
If you can see a lightning strike, or if you can hear the thunder, you're close enough to be hit by lightning. So you can get actually lightning strikes miles in advance of the actual thunder cell. You've got to be aware of the weather conditions. It's the #1 thing that you can do so that you're vigilant and you understand what could happen in the afternoon or in the morning or whenever those storms are.
Download the KSL weather app and turn on lightning alerts. You'll know when lightning strikes are occurring near you. While the Great Salt Lake's water levels are up, a decades-long battle still continues on its shoreline.
Since the 1980s, lake managers have been trying to control an invasive plant called Phragmites, which serves no use to the migratory birds, and it uses a lot more water than native plants.
So all around, it's just not a desirable plant to have in the wetlands.
Ben Steierman with the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Land says just his division treated more than 6,000 acres last year, but they're expecting the rising water to give them a hand this year.
When the plants are healthy, they take on that herbicide a lot better.
Steierman says, well, they probably won't ever get rid of all the Phragmites. They feel they can at least keep them under control.
We've had great success on Utah Lake. We're having great success on Great Salt Lake. It just takes time.
Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Guardsman Pass is officially open for the summer. Road crews have been hard at work clearing feet of snow from the mountain road that connects Big Cottonwood Canyon to Park City and Midway. KSL News Time, 4:33. Our top national story this hour, thick smoke continues to blanket much of the eastern half of the U.S. today. In New York City, Mayor Eric Adams says that while conditions are likely to improve, it's up in the air as to whether major events will happen this weekend in New York.
There's a reason the term game time decision is introduced into sports. Some of this stuff is just so unpredictable. You know, Mother Nature is going to do what Mother Nature desires to do. And so those who are hosting these events, we're going to give our recommendations.
They canceled last night's Yankee game, Broadway shows as well. Senator Mike Lee says this smoke back east is something that Utahns are familiar with, and our federal response needs to change.
Federal land managers have in some ways gone too far in aggressively suppressing the naturally occurring wildfires. And in other respects, it's so in that respect, it's overaction. In other areas, it's underaction.
Of course, these fires plaguing the East Coast are up in Canada. Senator Lee says there seems to be a different way of handling fires involving forests on federal land and private and state-owned forests. He says private forests tend to fare much better when they catch fire. We're learning more about what caused a massive wildfire in Colorado back in 2021. Officials say that fire near Boulder that caused $2 billion worth of damage was caused by a burning ember outside a home and a sparking power line. Temperatures in the 80s means more people launching boats on Utah's lakes and reservoirs. Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation Chief of Law Enforcement Steve Bullock says it's not just boaters who need to wear a life jacket. Paddle boards and kayaks, if you're on them, you should be wearing a life jacket as well.
People that are, buying a kayak from Walmart and coming out and launching that, they forget to bring a life jacket. The wind picks up and they get blown away, and then they're struggling to stay afloat.
He says paddleboard deaths are picking up across the country. KSL News Time, 4:35. First look traffic. Ricky Meese is here. It's been a rough go this afternoon.
It certainly has, and so far no signs of it letting up. We have a new accident. Thank you to the KSL traffic trooper texting this in. This is Bangerter Highway at 7800 South. Officers blocking off multiple left and center lanes of travel. And then we have this crash way out there westbound on the 21st South Freeway at the I-80 junction. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
My Minute's on the way next.
Quality, speed, value for your money, and $1,000 off any roof replacement. That's the IWC advantage. IWC, Intermountain West Contractors, delivers on the things most important to you when it comes time to replace your roof. There could be a dozen different reasons why your roof needs replacement, but just one answer to the problem: IWC. With IWC, you get quality because roof replacement is their specialty, and each job comes complete with the best warranties from the most trusted roofing material manufacturer in America. You get speed because IWC understands your time is valuable. In most cases, they can replace an entire roof in just one day. And with IWC, there's the value of knowing they use top-tier quality materials in every installation and deliver it all at an affordable price. And now, for a limited time, save $1,000 on a roof replacement project. Visit IWCroofing.com or call 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. AnyHourServices.com.
Can you believe it? Just when you thought the savings at Paris RV can't get any better, right now is Hot Deals Month at Paris RV, and you can save thousands on the easy-to-tow Forest River Rockwood 1640 LTD for only $12,995 or $146 a month. Need a bunkhouse? Save over $13,000 on the Gulfstream Amerilite Ultralight 248BH for $19,995 or $225 per month. Oh, you want to drive your rig so Mama can make you a sandwich on the way.
You want some cheesy poofs too?
Then climb aboard the Gulfstream Conquest Class C 6237 LE for only $79,995 or $636 a month. You're saving almost $36,000. See Paris RV for details. This R&R lifestyle changing and cash back in your jeans is happening right now at Paris RV. With 4 locations, go to parisrv.com.
The lowest prices of the year are now at Paris RV.
This is My Minute of News, brought to you by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, anyhourservices.com. Diet Coke is not good for you. They suck the sugar out of Coca-Cola, sweeten it up with aspartame, and shoot in some extra caffeine. Yes, a 12-ounce Diet Coke has an extra 11 milligrams of caffeine, making it just like half a cup of coffee. Scientists say the artificial sweetener gives a brief burst of dopamine, but less than you get from sugar, so you want more. And more. The New York Times reports lab rats forced to choose between saccharin and cocaine chose the saccharin 94% of the time. Are you hearing this? Rats addicted to cocaine prefer artificial sweetener. Diet Coke is bad, and it's hard to kick, but if you do, maybe you'll be in the NBA Finals.
Jokic has to put it up. Falling away, puts it up. Bang! Nikola Jokic
Nikola Jokic is a 6'11", 210-pound behemoth who tore up the floor in Game 3 the other night. He's easily the most effective player in basketball, and for the first 3 years of his career in Denver, Jokic drank 3 liters of Diet Coke every day. That's a 2-liter bottle and another half bottle, even sneaking slurps to satisfy his desire in the locker room at halftime. More. But in 2017, Jokic decided to quit Diet Coke cold turkey. He claims that it was easy. After he stopped filling his 6'11" body with the fizz, caffeine, and fake sugar, Jokic says he felt better and got better at basketball to the point where he's now at the pinnacle of his career in the finals, and if the Nuggets win, he gets to raise a glass in celebration.
Bang! Nikola Jokic!
But that glass won't be filled with Diet Coke.
Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
There you go, Diet Coke, Utah's dirty little secret. KSL News Time 440. Traffic and weather together on the 9s are brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Here is Ricky Meese.
Scattered delays southbound I-15 from 3300 south to Bluffdale, but northbound I-15 traffic, that's heavy and slow from 3500 south to the 6 south exit into downtown. The 201 seeing westbound delays approaching the West Belt, and I-80 also seeing some heavy traffic, a little slow going eastbound from Bangerter to I-215. Mark?
Big hot spot out west is a crash westbound SR 201 at I-80. UDOT jam cam show traffic is not moving, headed for I-80. Mountain View and Bangerter getting usual heavy delays between SR 201 and Kearns. Bangerter again down around 9800 south. I-15 is good in Utah County, but slow southbound through Nephi. Steve.
Northbound 15, thickened spots at Warm Springs Road into North Salt Lake, also through Centerville, and off and on through Lagoon up to Riverdale Road this afternoon. Plus, southbound 15 delays Clearfield to Kaysville. Northbound 215 on the west side belt, busy from I-80. Northbound Legacy already packed in from Woods Cross into Centerville. And if you're on Highway 89, it's a slow ride clogged up at Oak Hills Drive all the way to I-84. And for downtown drivers, police still clearing up a crash with a Trax train on Main Street at 6 South. Don't let tax problems ruin your life. Let Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox handle the IRS so you don't have to. Visit TaxHelpUT.com. That's TaxHelpUT.com. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, the active weather pattern continues with afternoon thunderstorms, and they're in the forecast for the next 7 days. Lows generally in the 50s, highs in the 80s, thunderstorms in the afternoons, and pretty quiet in the overnight. Looks like that pattern will hold all the way through the middle of next week. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubanks.
71 degrees. There was a surprise ruling from the Supreme Court this morning about redistricting of congressional districts. Stay here. We're going in depth coming up on KSL News Radio. 102.7 FM and 1160 AM, your all-day companion for news. This portion of the show is brought to you by Advanced Window Products. Our good friends Nate Orchard and Jake Weber are here live in the studio. Guys, let me ask you, why do I need new windows?
Well, let me tell you this, Jeff. I'll give you 5 quick reasons why, and let your listeners understand what we're doing here at Advance and why you need to replace your windows. So number 5, you absolutely have to. Rot, your windows won't open. Maybe you get some air coming through, a slight draft. 4, sound. You can't sleep at night. Let's say the AC unit's running outside your window, keeping you up. Dogs are barking. Number 3, security and safety. The lock mechanisms aren't working. You want to provide a safe environment for you and your family and protect them. And number 2, rebates. You qualify for the rebates with a high performance. And last but not least, curb appeal for yourself, for your friends and family coming over.
The rebates are because your home becomes more energy efficient.
Right, and they look more beautiful from the outside.
Sweet. So why do you want to get new windows now?
Well, if $3,000 off, 10 windows or more, if you get on the schedule today, isn't enough, we're about 8 weeks out to install your new windows. And we manufacture them ourselves. We're here locally. You get a lifetime warranty with us. So within that 8-week period, you look outside, it's beautiful. There's sunshine. You get those windows installed before that weather turns as we get into the fall.
Makes perfect sense. And it's not just you guys making the windows. You have a beautiful shop here in Salt Lake City with scores of men and women doing precision work, because this is all custom. You could even pick your color, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And we have our, like in the shop, anything that you need, you can come down, look at our showroom. You can see that the windows are made right there. And because of that, we're able to give you that warranty, quick turnaround if there are any issues. We're able to help you.
Just between us, what's the weirdest color somebody ever requested?
We got some diehard fans, Utah fans out there. And,
Red?
Red.
Like red, not just like a dark red. Like it is red.
For a man cave, and so it fit perfect.
All right, how about Cougar fans? Have you had blue window fans?
No, I don't know. Yeah.
Don't ask Nate. Nate's the wrong person to ask that
Jake,
question.
ask Jake.
Sorry, my bad. Okay,
yeah,
so
there's some Cougar fans out there. Put it that way.
The important part is if you need new windows, now is the time to make the call back at Advanced Window Products. Rob is waiting for your phone call, and if you reach tonight, and I understand you're going to extend this to the weekend now, $3,000 off 10 windows or more.
Yeah, but if you call today and get on the schedule, we are going to extend that through the weekend. If you get on that schedule throughout the weekend, we will give you $3,000 off 10 windows or more.
Guys, thank you for the offer on behalf of our listeners. Make the phone call. Here's the number, 801-850-9100. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. Or visit them at advancedwindowsusa.com. Great to see you.
People think saving money is hard, but really, it's easy. It's as simple as changing a few spending habits. For free tips on how to save the easy way, check out feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
KSL News Time, 4:45. The three things you need to know this hour first.
The bodies of 38-year-old Dustin Priest and 37-year-old Heather Priest were found by their 16-year-old daughter last night in an apparent murder-suicide. Cache County Police say they had no history with the family. I'm KSL News Radio's Hugo Ricard-Bell.
Second, Brigham City Police say someone intentionally drove through the front doors and lobby of Brigham City Hall. Nobody was injured. The man who did it was in custody. Third, our biggest traffic trouble spot.
We do have a lot of slowdowns on I-15 tonight in Weber, Davis, and Salt Lake counties. Plus, cleanup continues on a crash we have westbound on the 21st South Freeway as you're approaching the I-80 junction on the way to Tooele County. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Pop-up thunderstorms continue to be the story with temperatures in the 80s. I'm Kevin Eubank.
71 in Salt Lake now. KSL's top national stories from ABC News.
In a 5-4 decision, portions of the Voting Rights Act upheld today by the U.S. Supreme Court. The court ruled that a map that concentrated minority voters in one Alabama district is discriminatory, needs to be withdrawn.
They only created one majority black district. That was challenged in court, and today the Supreme Court said that map with one majority black district with a state with 27% of voters being black people is a violation of the Voting Rights Act. It's discriminatory. It dilutes black voting power in that it limits their ability to choose a candidate that they would prefer in that state.
ABC's Devin Dwyer. President Trump informed he's the target of a special counsel investigation over classified documents, say sources. 2 federal grand juries, one in Washington, the other in Miami, hearing evidence. Sporting events and outdoor activities at schools were canceled up and down the East Coast today as more hazardous wildfire smoke pours across the Canadian border. Dave Packer, ABC News.
And now the in-depth, as you've been hearing, it was a surprise Supreme Court decision that Republican electoral maps in Alabama have to be redrawn, that they were discriminatory. Here in Utah, meantime, there's a pending lawsuit over our state's redistricting map that lawmakers adopted last year. And joining me on the KSL Newsline is Katie Wright, the executive director of Better Boundaries, which has joined with other groups in this lawsuit. Katie, I'm guessing you were surprised by today's ruling.
Surprised, of course, but very, very happy. This is a win for the voters of Alabama, and we're, of course, on the side of voters, not politicians. And we're really happy to see that decision come from the U.S. Supreme Court.
Now, this particular decision had to do with discrimination against a protected group, black residents of Alabama. I wonder if this has anything to do with the lawsuit that's been filed by your organization here in Utah, or is it a completely different issue?
There are differences. That was a racial gerrymandering case heard by the U.S. Supreme Court under the Voting Rights Act, which is a federal law. The case in Utah that Better Boundaries is financially supporting, the plaintiffs are arguing that there have been a partisan gerrymander, and they are protected under the Utah Constitution. It will be heard in the Utah courts. So that is the difference. What is the same is putting voters first instead of politicians in who gets a say in how districts are drawn, and if they're centered around communities and voters or the self-interest of politicians.
Where does the lawsuit here in Utah stand right now?
On July 11th, it will be heard at the Utah Supreme Court. They are hearing what is called interlocutory appeals from both the plaintiffs and the defendants. If the plaintiffs are ruled on in their favor, it will go back to the district court, and that's when finally Utahns will be able to hear the facts of the case and really what happened behind closed doors when those maps were drawn.
You want them thrown out?
I do want the congressional maps thrown out. And most importantly, I think we want here in Utah, and Utahns want standards for redistricting that are about the needs of voters, like keeping communities, counties, and cities intact and not drawing lines to benefit politicians, incumbents, making it easier for them to be reelected, making it harder for voters to hold them accountable. That's what Utahns want, and that's what I hope the courts rule in favor of.
Katie Wright, who runs the organization Better Boundaries, which is joined with other groups in this lawsuit against Utah's congressional district map. Thanks a lot for joining us, Katie. KSL News Time, 4:50. Traffic and weather together on the 9s were brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Ricky, what's going on?
Slowdowns continue in Salt Lake County. If you're on southbound I-15, it's pretty slow all the way from 33rd South almost to the point of the mountain. Northbound I-15 bogged down from Murray to downtown. Now starting to see some westbound slowing on I-215 South Belt from about 1300 east over to the I-15 junction. And westbound I-80 also, westbound on the 201 delays also from I-15 to the West Belt. Mark?
And it has been awfully slow as well, westbound SR 201, because of a big crash at I-80 out west. So it is very heavy. Crash westbound I-80 itself reported at Grantsville, and Bangerter Highway's been very heavy. We've got a crash reported at 7800 South. So the delays between West and South Jordan. Steve.
Still a bit busy on I-15 leaving downtown Salt Lake City at Warm Springs Road into North Salt Lake. More delays through Centerville and scattered delays from Lagoon up to Riverdale Road. If you're on southbound I-15, slow and go from Clearfield to Kaysville. And also busy on the 215 westbound northbound I-215 from I-80. If you're on Legacy, busy, slow ride there. Woods Cross into Centerville and northbound 89 clogged up at Oak Hills Drive to the I-84 ramps. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires for big summer savings on tires. And don't forget, Big O also does oil changes, alignments, shocks, batteries, and more. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, it doesn't feel like June out there. We get thunderstorms each afternoon. That feels more like the end of July and August. Lows in the 50s, highs in the 80s will stay there all the way through the weekend. To start next week, highs in the upper 70s with a good chance of rain on Monday, and those thunderstorms linger all the way through the middle to end of the week. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubanks.
70 degrees in Salt Lake City. Your 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. We'll check the markets in just a moment. Oh, look, through the smoke, I see the bumper. It's 4:52 at KSL.
Jeff Caplan's Afternoon News, only on KSL News Radio.
I be spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
I am back with my friends Greg and Mike at Replenish Landscape Garden Products. Yes, that is a sure sign of spring, and after the winter we've had with all of the precipitation, our soils are probably easier to work with, but starving for nutrients right now. And Greg, that's where you guys come in.
We are in our 29th year with our Replenish Compost, which is a proven wonderful amendment to the soil.
And it looks beautiful too, Mike. But the other thing they need to know is you can use it as a top dressing on your lawn, and this would be a good time to do that.
Yeah, that's an excellent time to do it. It's really good for adding nutrients to your soil as well as for some water retention.
We're booking people out right now, and so come and join us.
It's a real easy place to come pick up all you need with your own truck or trailer. They can help you load it right here at 4660 South, 200 West in Murray. Look them up online at replenishcompost.com or call 801-262-5142. Remember, Replenish. It's good stuff.
Getting close to retirement? Or have you retired? You've probably got a ton of stress-filled questions on your mind. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth. Getting a second opinion with an individualized investment plan is vital, and our fiduciary advisors do just that. Take it from this Trajan Wealth client.
It was just so pleasant, so comfortable. I think we had 7 different accounts, just stuff scattered all over the place. And then so we just started, here's this, move this. And he even explained it a couple different times. But if I have more questions, he said, just give us a call. And that's what I love. He's a phone call away. I'm glad I know these guys. Such a huge weight off my shoulder.
Imagine not second-guessing investments or monthly retirement income. That's the peace of mind you'll get from working with Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600 today or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Actual client, no compensation, no conflicts. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Is using separate office technology like business telephones, chat, video conferencing, and file transferring complicated and pricey? What if all of those things were bundled into one simple product that has over 99.9% uptime, crystal clear quality, and is affordable? And what if you could get your business telephone bundle from a proven office technology partner like Les Olson IT? You can. Les Olson IT.
We're watching Utah's money at KSL News Radio. General Motors announced today it's going to build a $500 million factory in Texas. This plant outside Dallas will produce GM's gas-powered SUVs. The profits will help pay for the development of electric vehicles. Uber is getting into the car rental business. Uber is going to create like a sort of Airbnb website, but for cars, you can rent yours or you can rent somebody else's at hourly and daily rates from Uber. Wall Street, the Dow up 168 points, the S&P up 26, the NASDAQ gained 1 full percent, up 133 points.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Eileen talks about her experience with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
A lot of gross kitchen in the beginning, crack formica, bad floor, ripped linoleum, and I decided to heck with this. I want it done. And I found an ad from 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. I called him. Dave brought all of his stuff. We talked about what I wanted. I chose the materials. It was very easy. He came in. He did what he said. They did it in the time frame that they said, at the cost that they said. His crew was delightful. We came home. Everything had been cleaned up. I would say people are silly not to do 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. I just love it. It's just like I moved into a new home.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Stay in the loop. Register for breaking news alerts by texting us at the Cypress Credit Union KSL text line. Just text the word news to 57500.
What happens if you become too ill to make medical decisions on your own? Set aside time to designate a healthcare representative who can make future medical decisions for you should you become incapacitated. Put those wishes in writing by creating an advance directive. You can find advance directive forms in English and in Spanish at intermountainhealth.org/advance directives or in the Intermountain Patient Portal, My Health Plus, or on the Utah Council on Aging website. Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together on the 9s are brought to you by Granite Credit Union, helping members since 1935. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have a new accident northbound I-15 near about just after, I'm going to say 2100 South. Haven't seen a live shot of it yet. I've just pulled it up as we speak. This is a crash with possible injuries northbound I-15 approaching 1300 South. It is on the main flow, but it is blocking a right lane of traffic, causing stop-and-go delays into South Salt Lake. Mark?
Big hotspot out west is a crash. Westbound SR201 at I-80. Extreme delays headed after you get past SR202 to the freeway. Westbound I-80, a crash reported with delays prior to SR138. Grantsville, Bangor highways got big delays and problems around SR or 7800 South. Steve.
Scattered northbound 15 delays into North Salt Lake. Centerville also off and on from Lagoon into Layton. Plus southbound 15 delays from Layton from the mall there down into Kaysville. Update your kitchen with Durden's Appliance, where they meet any competitor's price. Visit Durdens.com or on 5th South in Bountiful. Durden's, brands you know at prices you'll love. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. Tonight it's going to be partly cloudy. We're expecting a low of 59 degrees. Look, tomorrow it's the same story. We're talking about afternoon thunderstorms, likewise Saturday, likewise Sunday and Monday. KSL News Time 4:59. Let's see who wants Chris Stewart's job next.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
This is the 5 o'clock report. 20 minutes of uninterrupted news, commercial free. I'm Jeff Caplan. KSL's top story. The candidates are starting to line up to replace Congressman Chris Stewart. We have 2 reporters working this afternoon to bring you all you need to know about the special election. Our team coverage begins with KSL News Radio's Lindsay Ertz.
Becky Edwards announced her run before the schedule was even out.
I intend to run in this race. I'm excited about the opportunity to continue to serve the people of Utah.
Now that it is today, former House Speaker Greg Hughes made his intention official. Likewise, Utah's Republican National Committee man Bruce Huff tells me he's in and confirmed to party delegates in an email. All those are Republicans. On the Democrat side, State Senator Kathleen Reeby reconfirming to me today that she's running.
Republicans feel like this is a seat that they're going to keep, but I think I'm a strong candidate for flipping some votes.
Candidates have until next Wednesday to declare. Lindsay Ertz, KSL News Radio.
This special election to replace Chris Stewart is going to be costly, likely in the millions of dollars. KSL News Radio's Amy Kobabe is live and continues our team coverage. Amy?
Jeff, we don't know the exact cost yet. We'll likely have to wait until the legislature actually meets to allocate the funds. But Salt Lake County Clerk Lainey Chapman says it will cost them $250,000 just for the paper.
So this is an additional cost on top of what we had anticipated, even as of 24 hours ago.
And that doesn't include even the cost of labor or postage. Part of the reason it's going to be so expensive is also because this was only supposed to be a municipal election. Many cities in the 2nd District weren't even going to have an election and send out ballots. And now we'll also have a primary election on top. So Utah GOP Chair Robert Axon says the cost will be worth it, even though he's sympathetic to wanting to save money.
But this is a place where this is a function of government. This is a function of our entire social compact and agreement as people that we have systems in place to allow for our representation. So this is the place where we have to invest in that.
Reporting live, Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio.
A new poll of Utah Republicans shows Donald Trump has the slimmest of leads over Ron DeSantis. The new Deseret News Hinckley Institute of Politics poll shows 27% of the state's GOP voters have picked Donald Trump. He is 1 single point ahead of DeSantis. So given the margin of error here in Utah, it's a dead heat. All the rest of the Republican candidates have anywhere from 1 to 7% support, single digits. KSL News Time 5:03. Our top national story this hour, former President Trump might face another indictment, this one for his alleged handling of classified documents. The former president's received a letter from the special counsel warning that charges could be coming. Here's ABC News reporter Aaron Katursky in Miami.
It is a precursor typically to the filing of a criminal indictment. And so if that's the case, former President Trump would have been on notice, perhaps in recent days, perhaps a couple of weeks ago, that he is a primary focus of this investigation. But he has known that for more than a year. That's how long he's been under investigation in connection with the alleged mishandling of classified material discovered at his Florida golf club in West Palm Beach. And the former president, of course, has denied that he's done anything wrong.
Emphatically. On Truth Social, he once again declared the case is a witch hunt. The Supreme Court says the electoral maps drawn by Republicans in Alabama need to be redone because they discriminate. ABC's Asha Rangappa has details.
What the court did was uphold basically 40 years of precedent on applying Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and saying that the district court got it right. The real story here is that they stayed the lower court opinion until now, which actually allowed this map to go into effect for the 2022 elections.
In a 5-4 opinion, Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh sided with the liberal justices. The court ruled that those maps in Alabama were discriminatory and need to be redrawn. The number of 911 hang-ups to Salt Lake City Police Department has more than doubled over the past year. Police say they don't know why so many people are making these calls and hanging up, but they say it could be because of a recent Android update that's automatically calling. Officer Dalton Beebe says if you do accidentally call 911, don't just hang up.
But we do want to give advice to anybody who does find themselves accidentally activating their emergency system on their phone. And that's if you're talking to dispatch, just tell them that you don't need an emergency if that's the case.
He says if a caller just hangs up, officers will automatically be dispatched to the area. KSL News Time, 5:05. First look traffic on the 5 o'clock report. We turn to Ricky Meese.
A crash with injuries causing big delays northbound on I-15. The crash is as you're approaching 1300 South, blocking a right lane. Delays into South Salt Lake. Stop and go delays southbound I-15. We did have a trouble in traffic near 7200 South, blocking a lane, and we have delays back to South Salt Lake. Legacy packed in and slow from Woods Cross up to I-15, and Bangor seeing some heavy southbound delays due to multiple accidents going through West Jordan. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Thank you, Ricky. KSL News Time, 5:06. 2 people have been found dead in their home in Hiram, both from gunshot wounds, and police have now identified both people. KSL News Radio's Hugo Ricard Bell is covering the story. Hugo?
Jeff, the bodies of 38-year-old Dustin Priest and 37-year-old Heather Priest were discovered last night by their 16-year-old daughter.
Our focus right now is to make sure that the 16-year-old daughter gets the help and the care that she needs.
That was Cache County Sheriff Chad Jensen. He says after talking to the medical examiner and reviewing evidence, it seems that Dustin Priest murdered his wife before taking his own life in an apparent murder-suicide.
They're residents of Hiram. We don't have a history with that family. We haven't been there in the past for any type of domestic violence type cases, but the end result, I think that's what this case was.
Sheriff Jensen also told me the last time they dealt with something like this was 2 years ago, so it was a horrible shock to the close-knit community. Their daughter is currently in the care of family. Reporting live, Hugo Ricard Bell, KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time, 5:06. Developing news on KSL News Radio. Brigham City police say somebody intentionally drove through the front doors and lobby of Brigham City Hall today. Commander Chris Howard says his department didn't get a call. They just heard a sudden crash.
We actually didn't get a call. We're in the same building, so at about 3 o'clock we heard everything come crashing down.
He says nobody was injured. A 63-year-old male was taken into custody. The thick blanket of smoke in the Northeast could stick around there through the weekend. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are now speaking out about the federal government's response to wildfires in the U.S.
Federal land managers have in some ways gone too far in aggressively suppressing the naturally occurring wildfires, leading to overgrown and unhealthy forests. And in other respects, it's overaction. In other areas, it's underaction, failure to undertake aggressive forest management practices that could control for some of this. So we've got these western forests that are dense and dehydrated, yet federal land managers are often prohibited from dealing with the situation in the way in which it requires because of restrictive federal land designations and permitting processes for active management activities.
That is Senator Mike Lee at a committee hearing today in Washington where all the smoke is from the Canadian fires. He says he believes fires that break out on private U.S. land tend to be better handled than fires that ignite on federal land. KSL News Time, 5:08 on Thursday afternoon. This is My Minute of News, brought to you by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, anyhourservices.com. For years now, the award for most expensive midlife crisis ever went to Elon Musk. Back when he was 46, he blasted a rocket ship into space, and the payload was a red Tesla sports car.
3, 2, 1.
You never heard this out there in the dark void, but the convertible was blasting David Bowie's song Life on Mars.
Is there life on Mars?
Now that's a midlife crisis, but Jeff Bezos is back on Earth saying, hold my beer. A little late to the party at age 59, the workaholic turned playboy who launched Amazon is giving Elon a run for his money. Bezos traded in his wife for a different model. He gave his ex $34 billion and took up with a helicopter pilot, ex-TV anchor from L.A. named Lauren Sanchez. But we're just getting started. Bezos proposed to her aboard his newly built boat. It's the world's largest sailboat, a $500 million yacht with sails that stretches 417 feet. Wait, there's more. Bezos also built a second boat with a helicopter just to trail behind the first one. Pointing from the front of this gigantic yacht, you know how there's often a statue of a woman jutting out from the front of old-time vessels? Look, that's a full-blooded Lauren Sanchez statue. She's wearing a sheer, skin-tight gown that leaves nothing, and I stress nothing, to the imagination. And imagine this. To top it off, the engagement ring Bezos gave the flesh and blood Lauren Sanchez is worth $20 million. Now that's a midlife crisis, though Elon Musk might argue that he's still number one because he bought Twitter.
Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time 5:10. Here's traffic and weather together. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificates. And here's Ricky Meese.
A crash northbound I-15 prior to 1300 South, but they are opening up that right lane. We still have stop and go and slow and go delays through South Salt Lake, almost to Murray. Southbound I-15, you have a mix of speeds. The slowest part of the delays go from 4500 to 7200 South, then still bogged down from Midvale all the way to Bluffdale. I-215 southbound delays go eastbound from Redwood Road over to the I-15 junction. Mark?
Looks much better on SR 201 headed to I-80 out west. Big crash there is clearing. SR 36 with the delays. Lake Point to Stansbury Park. Bangor delays. You had a few problems around 7800 south of the southbound side. And I-15 in Utah County still looks pretty good. Steve.
Well, we have spots of slowing on northbound 15 leaving downtown Salt Lake City up to the north interchange. Also through Centerville, off and on from Lagoon into Layton right now. Plus southbound 15 delays. Layton from the mall there into Kaysville. Northbound 215 busy both ways right now. Actually, south and northbound from I-80 up to about 6 north. Northbound Legacy, sluggish, Woods Cross into Centerville. And you have delays on northbound 89 at SR 193. Plan for delays on US 40 in Summit County this month. The bridge from US 40 to westbound I-80 is closed through early July for maintenance. Avoid travel during commute times if possible. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
As we head through the 5 o'clock hour, temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s under mostly cloudy skies. We're going to hover right around that 70-degree mark all the way through 7 and 8 o'clock. Upper 60s back for 9, mid-60s for 10 and 11, and low 60s by midnight. Ultimate lows will be in the mid-50s under partly cloudy skies. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank with your hourly forecast on the 5 o'clock report.
Right now, 70 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. If skies clear, sunset tonight comes at 8:57 p.m. KSL News Time 5:12. Authorities say 23 cars of a freight train have derailed in northern Arizona. This happened last night. Nobody was injured. This happened about 33 miles west of Flagstaff. The train was carrying a variety of new cars, vans, and trucks. The man long suspected of involvement in the 2005 disappearance of a teenager on a graduation trip has arrived in the U.S. He was extradited from Peru.
An FBI-operated plane landed just before 2:30 p.m. in Birmingham, Alabama. On board, Joran Vandersloot. He is the primary suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Alabama teenager Natalie Holloway in Aruba. He was extradited to the U.S. from Peru to face criminal charges. Federal prosecutors allege in 2010, Vandersloot tried to extort Holloway's family by promising information about the whereabouts of her body in exchange for large sums of money. Brian Clark, ABC News.
One of the stories we're following on the 5 o'clock report, 3 men are now safe, probably a little embarrassed after rescue crews had to save them from floating away on a giant inflatable duck. KSL News Radio's Amy Kobe live in the studio with details. Amy?
Jeff, the men floated away from a beach in England. A friend in a kayak tried to push them back to shore, but it was a paddleboarder who eventually towed them back to safety. They had to jump off of the duck and swim the rest of the way. So they had to leave the duck, and it was just taken back out to sea. Now rescuers who work along this beach have named it Quackers, and they warn that people can get taken out to sea, and inflatable ducks can do this too, in just a few seconds because of the wind that's there.
You know, we've been warning all afternoon that paddleboarders and kayakers should be wearing life jackets. It's the law. Maybe they have to add inflatable ducks.
Add an inflatable duck.
The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
while water levels are up, managers of the Great Salt Lake continue to battle an invasive water-sucking plant that's still causing problems for the lake's ecosystem. I'm KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Second, police say they've recovered a bunch of pride flags that were stolen from homes and Holiday. Third, our biggest traffic trouble spot.
We do have delays that linger on Bangerter Highway, a very rough ride tonight. You may want to consider an alternate route because these West Jordan delays caused by a couple of different crashes are very stop and go, and those slowdowns will go from about 6400 south. You won't see better speeds until you're hitting about 90th. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Dark clouds, strong thunderstorms, and the trend continues. I'm Kevin Eubank.
70 degrees now. KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Alabama will have to redraw its voting maps. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court said that Alabama diluted the power of black voters by limiting them to one district. Duell Ross with the Legal Defense Fund.
The court made the right decision based on the law and the facts. And so it's not surprising when the court does what it says the law requires.
But some were surprised that Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh joined with the court's 3 liberal justices to form the majority opinion. 2 federal grand juries hearing evidence in the criminal probe into former President Trump's handling of classified documents, one in Washington, D.C. and one in Miami. Sources telling ABC News that the former president received a letter from special counsel Jack Smith's office in recent weeks informing him that he's the target of the probe. ABC News executive editorial producer John Santucci.
This is not surprising. We know Donald Trump has been a target of this investigation. We know the number of times that federal agents have visited his home at Mar-a-Lago. They have had ongoing dialogue with his attorneys about retrieving that classified information. And we also know from the number of witnesses, Trump allies, loyalists, enemies now of the president, that have been called before special counsel Jack Smith's grand jury in Washington, D.C.
President Biden today announcing he's sending additional firefighters and aid to Canada, where those wildfires are leaving the northeastern U.S. engulfed in heavy smoke.
It's very important that affected communities listen to the guidance of their state and local officials from this point forward to keep up to date on the air quality in real time.
Air quality alerts issued in at least 20 states and Washington, D.C. General Motors CEO Mary Barra announcing that GM will begin to move towards standardizing car charging plugs starting in 2025, and GM customers will be able to use 12,000 Tesla superchargers beginning early next year. You're listening to ABC News.
Now the in-depth on KSL, looking to go for a drive, enjoy the warmer weather this weekend. Well, more seasonal routes are opening in Utah, and as you could imagine, the mountain roads are opening a bit later than normal. UDOT spokesperson John Gleason says the past winter has made clearing the way for cars quite the challenge.
This year there's been a few different factors at play. Number one, the crews that would be opening those seasonal routes have been focused on the flood mitigation and addressing all of the issues that we've had with flooding. Also, there's a lot of snow that's still up in those areas, the seasonal roads, and with all of the avalanches, it wasn't just a matter of plowing the roads, but also clearing some of the landslide debris, rocks, trees that have been deposited along there. But then the third factor is probably the financial aspect of it, and looking at all of the budget that we used for snow removal during the winter months, we have to make sure that all comes from the maintenance fund, and so we have to make sure that we're being wise with the money that we have.
Gleason says 2 of the more popular roads are now open.
The news is good today. We've actually opened up 2 in the last 2 days. We have Guardsman Pass that's open, and now Monte Cristo, and both are very popular for people that want to get up there and see everything that Utah has to offer. You know, Monte Cristo and Guardsman, they're routes that people really enjoy, and so we want to get them open when we can.
Most roads in the state are now open and should be into late fall. KSL News Time 5:19. Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. And here's Ricky Meese.
Delays continue southbound I-15 with a mixture of speeds anywhere between 3,300 and 123rd south. Northbound I-15 also filling in and slowing down from the point up to Bangerter Highway and Draper. And again, as you go from 45th south to 6th south downtown. But the crash we had prior to 13th has been cleared. All lanes are open. Westbound on the 201. Bogged down from I-15 to the West Belt and again at 5600 West. Mark?
Looks a lot better on SR 201 as you head to I-80 to Willa. Bangerter, though, has got the worst delays in town between Kearns and South Jordan. The southbound travel, you'll want to avoid it. Mountain View's a little heavy coming into West Valley again through daybreak. I-15 in Utah County, though, still looks pretty good. Steve.
Northbound 15 heavy and slow between downtown and North Salt Lake this afternoon, also through Centerville and Lagoon to Layton. You have a crash on southbound 15 to the Layton Parkway. That's on the left shoulder. And then you have delays on the West Belt both ways right now between I-80 and 700 North, and a slow ride on Legacy from Woods Cross into Centerville, and a crash in downtown Salt Lake 13 South at 5th West. When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing exceptional service from Ford dealers: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, Performance Toyota, and Truck Country. See performancebountiful.com. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL 7-day forecast stays active with thunderstorms in it for the next 7. Lows will be in the 50s, highs in the 80s, scattered afternoon thunderstorms all the way through the wind. A little bit better chance for more widespread rain on Monday with temperatures in the upper 70s, but this overall stormy afternoon pattern continues. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank.
70 degrees, your 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. We have breaking news at KSL News Radio. We are just learning about a new brush fire burning in Washington County. We can see black smoke coming from the area near New Harmony along I-15. The fire is right along the mountains. It's burning close to what looks like a trailer park. We're going to bring you the very latest as we get more details here on KSL News Radio.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Now more than ever, educators need our connection, empathy, and kindness in their lives. Utah's First Lady, Abby Cox, is leading efforts to uplift and support educators across the state. She joins us with more on how to show our teachers that we care.
As we go about our daily lives, it's important to remember that teachers are shaping the future of our world by educating and inspiring the next generation. As a former teacher and now Utah's First Lady, I know that supporting and uplifting our educators is a responsibility we all share. That's why I'm inviting all Utah educators to join me at the Show Up for Teachers Conference on July 19th at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Now in its second year, Show Up for Teachers brings together educators from across the state for a day of learning, growth, and connection with a focus on emotional resilience and reducing stress. Registration is limited, so tell your favorite educators to sign up quickly. As teachers inspire and build the next generation, it's up to us to support and uplift them in every way possible.
Education is essential to building a strong and vibrant community. Businesses can get involved in supporting Utah's educators through the Show Up for Teachers Conference. Join us and make a difference in the lives of our educators. Learn more at showuputah.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Who will dare to find a new way to think about energy? One that connects our lives like never before and creates a world where we can breathe easy. NewScale dared by making 24/7 carbon-free energy a reality with our Voyager SMR power plants. Let's see how bright the future can be when cleaner, safer energy is available to all. NewScale, power to the world, power for all humankind. Discover the future of energy at newscalepower.com.
Can you believe it? Just when you thought the savings at Paris RV can't get any better, right now is Hot Deals Month at Paris RV. And you can save thousands on the easy-to-tow Forest River Rockwood 1640 LTD for only $12,995 or $146 a month. Need a bunkhouse? Save over $13,000 on the Gulfstream Amerilite Ultralight 248BH for $19,995 or $225 per month. Oh, you want to drive your rig so Mama can make you a sandwich on the way.
You want some cheesy poofs too?
Then climb aboard the Gulfstream Conquest Class C 6237 LE for only $79,995 or $636 a month. You're saving almost $36,000. See Paris RV for details. This R&R lifestyle changing and cash back in your jeans is happening right now at Paris RV. With 4 locations, go to parisrv.com.
The lowest prices of the year are now at Paris RV.
Fed Up Kitchen's now open in American Fork. Use promo code WELCOME10, all caps, at the American Fork location only and save 10%. Visit FedUpKitchen_AF on Instagram.
We are watching Utah's Money at KSL. The sun is shining on the solar industry. Their trade association says solar panel sales are expected to triple by 2028. They're already up 30% this past year, with sales highest in the place where the sun shines the most, Florida and California. American Airlines says they're waiving fees if you have to rebook your flight because of the wildfire smoke. Now you're saying there's no wildfire smoke here, but there might be at your destination, with the East Coast blanketed by this epic shroud of smoke from Canada. Businesses are relying ever more heavily on teenagers to fill their job openings. A payroll processing company called Gusto reports 1 out of every 5 summer hires this year is under age 18. Kids are more interested because the pay is improving. Wall Street today, the Dow is up 168. It closed at 33,833. The S&P up 26. The Nasdaq up a full percent, gaining 133 points. KSL News Time 526. The world's most active volcano is attracting spectators. It's erupting again on the big island of Hawaii.
Kilauea's latest eruption has already added about 30 feet of new lava to the crater floor, a gorgeous glow from fountains of lava shooting up, some about 30 feet high, spewing lava into the air. Trade winds are now moving the VOG, volcanic fog and ash, away from the other islands like Oahu and Maui. The eruption is totally contained in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, is not a threat to anyone, but crowds are arriving to get a glimpse of Earth's power from a distance. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Soda weight loss. You've heard us talking about soda weight loss, and this is a program that if you follow it, the science just tells you exactly what's going on. SOTA stands for state of the art. So if you follow the program, you'll be able to drop the weight, and you can also get that accountability for life free with the program when you sign up with SOTA Weight Loss. That's right. Every week you'll be able to have that conversation with somebody, and then when you get into the maintenance phase, it's not every week. It actually is whenever you want. If you want to text, if you want to call, SOTA is right by your side through this process of dropping weight, which is so hard for so many of us.
Yeah, and I know people out there that are frustrated with their weight, and they've tried all these different things, and this is a program that will really work for you, and you're not alone. You have a team. It's not an individual. There's a group, a support group there to help you out. There's a whole culture of people who have had the same success. There's over, I think, 8,000 reviews now of people that have had success on SOTA weight loss, and you can do it too. And Alex and I have had success on the program, and you just follow it, and it works like magic. Have any questions? They're there to support you, and you're going to get a team that will be there behind you. So go check out sodaweightloss.com. That's sodaweightloss.com.
This week's movie show is brought to you by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and free sleep consultation by tuning in tomorrow morning with Sound Sleep Medical, 7 locations in Utah.
A stranger with a gun fires on 2 teens, shattering lives. But that's only the beginning of this story. Listen to The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared.
Prevent your child's next asthma attack. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Summer 2023 will be one to remember.
Mike Pence and Chris Christie set to enter the race.
Governor Cox is actively looking for trade away from China.
Brace for higher gas prices.
It's a summer to camp out on KSL. Tim and Amanda have breaking news. Mornings 5 to 9. David Dujanovic and Boyd Matheson talk about the biggest stories during the day. And you get updates and Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News from 3 to 7 on the drive home. The summer of 2023 will be on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High-Yield Savings Certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
Long delays continue southbound I-15 between South Salt Lake and Bluffdale. Northbound I-15 bogged down from the point of the mountain to Bangor, and again from Murray to downtown. And some slowing westbound on the 201, I-15 to Bangor. Mark?
SR 36 in Mountain View have usual delays in the usual spots out west, but it's Bangor Highway that's badly backed up. 7800 south down to 9800 south. And I-15 now in Utah County getting some delays between American Fork and Linden. Steve?
Northbound 15, a little thick there, leaving downtown up to the north interchange. Slowdowns in Centerville and Lagoon to Layton as well, plus a crash on southbound 15 to the Layton Parkway. If you're on the west side belt, it's busy both ways between I-80 and 700 north. Slow and go on northbound Legacy from Woods Cross into Centerville, and northbound 89 delays at South Weaver Drive. And a crash in downtown 13 south at 5th West. While you were spring cleaning, did you check your drains? From kitchen sinks to main lines, Big Brothers Home Services is here for you 24/7 because their motto is we do more. Visit them at bigbrothershomeservices.com. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Our scattered thunderstorms continue to be the story each afternoon. Temperatures get into the 80s, but the minute those storms come in, they quickly cool into the 60s and 70s. Tonight, partly cloudy and 56. Day starts out partly cloudy Friday, but more afternoon thunderstorms with a high of 82. We'll hit repeat and do the same on Saturday. Mostly cloudy 84 with a chance of some thunderstorms on Sunday. More widespread rain and 70s for Monday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank.
You're listening to Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon, 5:30 at KSL. Jeff Kaplan here. We're at 71 degrees. KSL's top story. Dozens of pride flags have been recovered in Holiday. Unified Police Department says the thefts in Holiday are related to similar ones in Sandy.
Just like in Sandy, Holiday residents woke up to their pride flags missing from their yards. Some residents even saw the thefts on their doorbell camera apps. Sergeant Melody Cutler shares how the 3 teens responsible were found.
We had an officer make a traffic stop, and she noticed that there were multiple pride flags in this vehicle and started questioning the people.
Sergeant Cutler said that they thought what they were doing was funny and charges will be filed with the juvenile court, and that all but 3 flags have been returned to their owners. Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Are you ready for more hot days each summer? The people who track this sort of thing say that we're likely to get more of them every summer over the next couple of decades. KSL News Radio's Amy Kobabe joins us live with details. Amy.
Jeff, the data comes from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They looked at how each county across the U.S. is already seeing days over 90 degrees. They use that to predict how many more days we would have in the future. Right now, we only have a handful of these so far this year, but by 2050, we could see as many as 60 days in a year over 90 degrees. That would mean that most summer days would be in the extremely hot range. And John Meyer with the Utah Climate Center says even though this is looking out far into the future, it's a reliable prediction.
And there's really no theoretical or hypothetical evidence that suggests that the pattern will slow down.
Meyer also says that we're already seeing more and more days above 90 and even more above 100 each summer. Reporting live, Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio.
Even with the water level rising, the Great Salt Lake still has problems. One of them, an invasive plant that soaks up water and messes with the lake's ecosystem. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Phragmites, or as one water manager described them to me as, quote, frickin' frags, can grow up to 18 feet and have been causing a headache since the 80s.
Really, from a habitat or a kind of environmental component, there's not any benefit to them.
Department of Natural Resources Executive Director Joel Ferry says not only do they use more water than native vegetation, they actually can push the native plants out.
Water managers say with all the water streaming into the lake, more frickin' frags are going to appear. KSL News Time 5:32. Brigham City police say somebody intentionally drove through the front doors and lobby of Brigham City Hall today. Police say the man was having a mental health crisis. They say no one was injured in the 3 p.m. incident, and the man is now in custody. KSL News Time 5:33. Our top national story this hour. After the worst day of wildfire smoke ever in the U.S., things are slightly better in New York, Philadelphia, and Washington today. But that's because the smoke is spreading out over more states. Ball games, Broadway shows, and even the National Zoo in Washington were all shut down last night, all because of the 250 wildfires burning out of control in eastern Canada. And while some people are wearing masks again to protect against the smoke back east, Senator Mike Lee is pointing out that here in Utah, we know all about this problem.
Most Easterners aren't used to dealing with this level of smoke. And by Easterners, I mean basically anybody to the east of Colorado. But this is an unfortunate recurring reality for us in the West.
Lee at a Senate committee hearing looking at the federal response to U.S. wildfires. And Mike Lee isn't the only Utahn breathing that horrible air on the East Coast. We're hearing from the U.S. Forest Service the Logan hotshots are up in Canada helping battle the wildfires. We don't know where the Logan hotshots are because there's no cell phone service in the fire zone. We're hoping to see pictures eventually. They expect to be out on the front lines for another week before coming home. A year and a half later, investigators in Boulder County, Colorado have finally determined what caused a wind-whipped wildfire that did billions of dollars in damage. There were wind gusts of 115 miles an hour fanning the flames of that blaze, and ABC's Alex Stone has more.
It was a firestorm moving through towns in Boulder County.
These high winds really are making it uncontrollable.
Over 1,000 homes were destroyed in a matter of hours. 2 victims vanished, believed to have died in the fire. Over $2 billion in damage was done. Now, a year and a half later, investigators issuing how the fire started. Boulder County Sheriff Curtis Johnson says it was 2 fires, one from a trash fire days earlier that sparked up, and another from arcing power lines at Met, creating the monster fire.
I share in that loss as I lost my home to the Marshall Fire.
The decision now that nobody will be charged. Alex Stone, EBC News.
KSL News Time, 5:35. We have breaking news at KSL News Radio about the investigation into former President Donald Trump. Amy Kobabe joins us live in the studio. What's going on?
The president has just been indicted. This is involving the president's alleged mishandling of classified documents. The Justice Department was moving forward with this for the last day or so. We've heard rumors. Now it is official, and we'll have to watch this process play out again with an indictment of a former president in the next couple of months.
This is the first word. We don't have the full details on the indictment, what he's charged with at this point.
Not yet, but we're working on that. We'll likely have it soon.
Okay, stay with us at KSL News Radio. Now, first look traffic. Ricky Meese is here in the traffic center. What's going on?
I would just say avoid Bangerter tonight. We've had a couple of accidents. That's all it took to just snarl that drive. Traffic at a crawl southbound as you go between 6200 and 90th South. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
My Minute's on the way next. We're going to talk about Utah's dirty little secret, Diet Coke.
Smart, connected, modern. Discover life-enhancing independent living services at Trio South Ogden. They do things a little differently there because you're different. With everything you need to support your best self, you'll find that joy isn't just for the young, it's for the young of heart. Trio South Ogden's signature programs provide a unique approach to wellness that brings living well and well-being to life. To learn more, contact Trio South Ogden at 801-475-4004 or visit triosouthodden.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Boyd Matheson on the pitfalls of politics. Sadly, both political parties are more interested in scoring political points than they are solving the American people's problems. They're playing a zero-sum game.
And it's not zero sum. It's everybody coming together. We have to come together. Compromise has integrity. That's a big part of what's going wrong in our nation's capital and in many conversations around the country.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time, 5:38. This is My Minute of News, brought to you by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, anyhourservices.com. Diet Coke is not good for you. They suck the sugar out of Coca-Cola, sweeten it up with aspartame, and shoot in some extra caffeine. Yes, a 12-ounce Diet Coke has an extra 11 milligrams of caffeine, making it just like half a cup of coffee. Scientists say the artificial sweetener gives a brief burst of dopamine, but less than you get from sugar, so you want more. And more. The New York Times reports lab rats forced to choose between saccharin and cocaine chose the saccharin 94% of the time. Are you hearing this? Rats addicted to cocaine prefer artificial sweetener. Diet Coke is bad, and it's hard to kick, but if you do, maybe you'll be in the NBA Finals.
Jokic has to put it up. Falling away, puts it up. Bang!
Nikola Jokic is a 6'11", 210-pound behemoth who tore up the floor in Game 3 the other night. He's easily the most effective player in basketball, and for the first 3 years of his career in Denver, Jokic drank 3 liters of Diet Coke every day. That's a 2-liter bottle and another half bottle, even sneaking slurps to satisfy his desire in the locker room at halftime. More. But in 2017, Jokic decided to quit Diet Coke cold turkey. He claims that it was easy. After he stopped filling his 6'11" body with the fizz, caffeine, and fake sugar, Jokic says he felt better and got better at basketball to the point where he's now at the pinnacle of his career in the finals, and if the Nuggets win, he gets to raise a glass in celebration.
Bang! Nikola Jokic!
But that glass won't be filled with Diet Coke.
Jeff Caplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
Put down the Diet Coke, turn up the radio. It's traffic and weather together every 10 minutes. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
Still seeing a slow and solid drive southbound I-15, but those delays now start at 4500 South in Murray and go through Bluffdale, northbound to I-15. Heavy and slow from the point of the mountain up to Bangerter Highway, but clearing after that all the way to downtown. I-215 South Belt delays eastbound from just before Redwood Road over to the I-15 junction, and still some spots of slowing westbound on the 201, approaching and passing the West Belt, and again passing 5600 West. Mark?
Fairly extreme delays that we have now, struggling 6200 south down to 90th south on Bangerter Highway. Not as bad, but still very heavy. Mountain View through West Valley, again through Daybreak. Redwood Road coming Bluffdale to Camp Williams is its usual struggle, and southbound I-15 in Utah County is heavy at Pleasant Grove Boulevard. Steve?
Well, northbound 15 still a bit thick in spots between downtown and Centerville right now. Also Farmington into Kaysville, plus some southbound 15 delays at 200 north in Kaysville. West Belt busy. That's on the southbound side between 6 north and I-80. And still sluggish if you're on northbound Legacy through Centerville. Keep your allergies under control this spring with Rentmeister. Call 801-773-6900 and mention KSL for a free indoor air quality consultation. Visit us at rentmeister.com. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Time for the pollen report, brought to you by Rentmeister Total Home Services.
Pollen levels along the Wasatch Front remain high for the weeds, but it looks like the grass is now in the moderate. Mold is also in the moderate. Our scattered afternoon thunderstorms are going to continue for the next several days. Highs in the 80s with lows in the 50s. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubanks.
71 degrees. President Trump has been indicted. We're going to get some in-depth coverage in just 1 minute. Stay with us.
Red and white, blue suede shoes. I'm Uncle Sam. How do you do? Give me 5.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We can have disagreements and still be friends. So often, I think people think that just because we disagree, that we're enemies. That we are not. We're great friends, even though we disagree.
I hope listeners take away something new every day, a new detail they hadn't heard before. And I also hope our show opens their minds to new ideas, new ways of thinking of things.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Once again, we just learned a few moments ago that former President Trump has been indicted. Let's go now to ABC News.
This is live coverage from ABC News. Here is ABC News correspondent Alex Stone.
Good evening to you. We are coming on the air with breaking news to report sources are telling ABC News that former President Trump has been indicted again. This time by a federal grand jury in Florida, one of two grand juries investigating Trump's handling of classified documents that were found in his possession at Mar-a-Lago. This gets confusing because there are so many investigations against Trump underway. Special counsel Jack Smith has one looking into Trump's handling of documents and another that seems to be lagging in allegations that Trump tried to overturn the election on January 6th. This indictment coming at this late hour involving the handling of documents. A number of different charges. Sources are saying that the former president has been told to appear in court next week. ABC's Catherine Falders breaking all of this right now based on what sources are telling ABC News. Here's what Catherine said moments ago.
We're learning from our sources that there appears to be at least 7 counts here. This ranges from everything from the willful retention of national defense information to conspiracy, to a scheme to conceal, to false statements and representations. Obviously, this is part of a more than years-long investigation by special counsel Jack Smith and Trump's efforts to obstruct the government to give documents in his possession with classification markings back to government investigators who at multiple times throughout this investigation have tried to retrieve them from Trump. They still had questions about whether Trump still currently has classified documents in his possession. But again, we're learning that at this hour, we're told by our sources that there are at least 7 counts here, and they range from everything from willful retention of national defense information to conspiracy to concealing documents of record. We're learning from our sources that
Catherine Falders there, as she has been reporting on this for a long time, following the cases involving the former president. Again, her reporting there from our sources to ABC News, at least 7 counts against the former president, ranging everything from willful retention of national defense information to conspiracy to a scheme to conceal to false statements and representations. This is a grand jury in Florida. There is another grand jury in Washington, D.C., hearing evidence on the classified documents probe. Then a few weeks ago, this grand jury in Florida was given the task of deciding on the documents as well. There is some debate over why 2 of them under Jack Smith, one in D.C., one in Miami. This is the one in Miami. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers is here with me as well. Karen, the word coming down now, we understand Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time is when he is due in court. Wasn't a real surprise that this was coming today. Seemed like maybe as the day went on, it was not going to be tonight, maybe tomorrow. But even the former president had to know it was coming.
No, and he had recently, the former president, had received a target letter from the special counsel, Jack Smith, that warned him that he was the subject of this ongoing grand jury investigation into his possible mishandling of classified documents. And what that letter does is effectively put the former president on notice that he is facing the real prospect of an indictment. And former federal prosecutors say that when you send a letter out like that, that essentially means that indictment is almost imminent. It's coming, it's looming. This is sort of your last notice. And, just to step back and remind people what this investigation is all about, the special counsel is looking at whether the president illegally took classified documents from the White House and whether he obstructed the government's efforts to retrieve that material. More than 320 documents with classified markings have been recovered from the former president's possession since he left the White House. And more than 100 of them were seized by investigators during that August 2022 search of his Mar-a-Lago residence down in Florida. So this is all related to that. The former president, I should say, had been essentially fighting with investigators from the FBI to the National Archives about the turning over of these documents. And that's why it's sort of this 2-part thing about taking the classified documents and obstructing the government's efforts to actually get back that material.
If you're just joining us right now, that in the last couple of minutes, we have learned that The former president has been indicted again. He made history by being indicted the first time by the DA in Manhattan, now being indicted again by a federal grand jury on federal counts. It will likely move much quicker, due in court early next week. The federal system sometimes can move much quicker than the state system as all of this gets moving through the system right now on the multiple counts that we now know about. At least 7 counts, we are told. Sources telling us that he will appear early next week. The charges: conspiracy, willful retention, obstruction as well. Karen, you talk about that letter, and we know that it wasn't that long ago that he got that letter, but it was a warning to say, look, this may be coming. You have a chance to testify if you want. You can tell us your side if you want, but he did not do that.
No, he didn't. And, today is June 8th. On June 5th, the former president's legal team met with officials at the Justice Department, and sources told ABC that meeting included special counsel Jack Smith and at least one other career prosecutor. And if you kind of look at the timeline of this, that's probably one of those meetings where they are talking about those final details, maybe, one last chance to go over anything before the indictment is then handed up. But that was on Monday. So this is all happening pretty quickly since that meeting at the Justice Department.
My colleague Aaron Katursky is talking to our David Muir right now. He is in Miami outside the courthouse. Here's what Aaron's saying.
He is formally arrested. Trump will be booked and processed as a federal defendant, and then he will appear before a judge to enter a not guilty plea to the criminal charges that you've outlined. And then perhaps we will understand the full scope of what the former president is facing and how potentially he may start to go about defending himself. All day today, we saw evidence that the grand jury had been nearing this moment, David. We saw members of special counsel Jack Smith's team going into and out of the room where the grand jury has been hearing evidence. Their exact process has been kept secret, but now we know it has culminated in this indictment, and the former president will be here on Tuesday to answer the charges, David.
An extraordinary scene the country will watch unfold come Tuesday. Aaron Katursky in Florida for us tonight. Aaron, thank you. I want to bring in our political director, Rick Klein. Rick, I always come back to you with this question, and the reason I do it is because I think this is a question people at home have every single time one of these headlines of this magnitude actually breaks involving the former president. This time, actually, we have never seen this, uncharted territory, but there's nothing that says that a former president who's been indicted at the federal level, charged, that he would not be able to run for office. And even if, and this is, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but even if there's some sort of conviction at the end of this long process, what are the ramifications if you're running for president?
Yeah, there is no federal law, there's no constitutional provision that allows, that prevents someone from running for president of the United States, even if they are currently behind bars. In fact, in 1920, we had a socialist candidate for president who was serving a prison sentence and got almost 1 million votes. You have to go back that far for any kind of precedent, and as you said, we're a long way from any of that. But look, there's also evidence that the last legal case brought against him may have bolstered his standing. Donald Trump only doing better in the primaries since then. Our poll from about a month ago, David, showed that about 54% of Americans thought that he deserved to face criminal charges in this case about classified documents. But that same poll had a numeric advantage for Trump versus Biden. So it may be that a lot of this information is already out there. And we saw Donald Trump tonight set a fundraising appeal within about 15 minutes of breaking the news of his own indictment. He is asking people to raise money. There's no doubt in my mind that it will be a successful appeal, because if we know anything about Donald Trump, is that his base is extremely loyal.
But again, the bottom line, Rick, that even though we're now witnessing a former president being indicted on federal charges at the federal level, he can still run for president. Nothing stops him.
Nothing stops him. It becomes practically harder because he has to make court dates. As John Carl was mentioning, the timeline here is very inconvenient, but he is allowed to run for president even while under indictment, even if he were to be convicted.
Rick Klein, our political director. Rick, thank you as always. I want to bring in Rachel Scott. She is live in Iowa, which tells you she's already out on the campaign trail covering the race for the White House. Rachel, I come to you because I know you've been reporting on all of the other Republican candidates. It's now a somewhat crowded field. We know that Mike Pence entered the fray this week officially. He went so far as to say his former boss should never be president again, should never be allowed to be president again. Chris Christie in the race as well, the former New Jersey governor, who right out of the gate took on Donald Trump and by name. I gather all of these campaigns tonight are watching this play out and deciding what their next steps will be and how far they'll go.
Exactly, David. But right now, I could tell you that most of this very crowded Republican field is walking a fine line. You heard Trump's own former vice president, Mike Pence, say that he's unfit to serve again, calling out the former president directly and by name when he launched his presidential campaign this week. But just hours ago, I had an opportunity to press Pence on whether or not a former president who is facing multiple investigations best represents the future of the Republican Party. And while Pence told me that he believes there needs to be new leadership, he says that an indictment would further divide the country, but still says that no one should be above the rule of law. You have former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. He says that an indictment does not look good for any political candidate, but is still waiting to see sort of how this all plays out. So far in this very crowded field of 12 Republican candidates, only one candidate, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, has come out and said that indictments of a former president should be enough reason for them to step aside. But we know that Trump is as defiant as ever. In fact, David, I could tell you right now his campaign is already fundraising off of this news.
Rachel Scott in Iowa covering the race for president and what will undoubtedly be a very strong and powerful dynamic in the days, weeks, and months ahead, how all the other candidates now handle this who are trying to get that Republican
nomination.
David
Muir there talking to our Rachel Scott out on the campaign trail covering the campaigns. As all of this is breaking tonight, if you are just joining us, former President Trump has been indicted again, this time by a federal grand jury in Miami. This is in the documents probe. There are two grand juries, one in Miami, one in Washington, D.C. This is the one in Miami, looking into his handling of the documents at Mar-a-Lago. When former President Trump arrives at the Miami federal courthouse, it'll mark an extraordinary moment for the country. He will be formally placed under arrest by the very government he was once elected to lead. Once he is arrested, he will be booked. He will be processed as a federal defendant. Then he'll appear before a judge for an arraignment. Trump or one of his attorneys will enter a not guilty plea that will begin the prosecution of a former president. ABC's Karen Travers with me here again. And Karen, when we covered his first indictment, that was history-making. This tonight at this late hour, history-making again.
It's quite incredible. And we'll have a similar scene like we did when we covered that arrival of the former president in Manhattan and that appearance in the courtroom there and the whole, hoopla surrounding all of that. We will see that again when he makes that appearance in the Miami federal court and his trip that he will make from presumably New Jersey, where he has been recently, down to Florida. Our colleague Aaron Katursky reporting that the courthouse has spent the last several days preparing for the former president's arrival, but at this time, no outward sign that this appearance is imminent, just days away. That will certainly change now with this news tonight in the next couple of days. I also think that the difference of how they prepared for that in Lower Manhattan, there was such an expectation that there would be protest and people would be arriving from out of town, Trump supporters, and it ultimately wasn't as big of a scene as they maybe were expecting. This in Florida, Florida, I know Florida from covering politics over all these years, a little bit different down there. This is also the president's other home state. He has his residence down there in Florida. This might be a bigger scene of support for the president. Anytime there's been any big news related to legal matters down in Palm Beach, there are dozens, if not hundreds of people who line the streets near Mar-a-Lago showing their support for the president. I would not be surprised, Alex, if many of them make that trip down to Miami for next Tuesday when he makes his appearance in federal court.
And Karen, the courthouse has spent the last several days getting ready for his arrival. No outward signs tonight that he is, because he is days away from appearing. We know members of the special counsel's team were seen going in and out of court today into the courtroom where the grand jury has been hearing evidence. We knew they were getting toward the end of their work. We didn't know if it would be today or tomorrow. It, we now know, was today when that vote came, handing up the indictment. ABC News Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas moments ago talking to our David Muir.
We have been told by sources who have been following the case that Trump is expected to appear on Tuesday to be processed in connection with these charges. And we've been told by multiple sources that the special counsel had specifically been focusing on efforts to illegally retain classified documents and producing evidence to show that Trump also willfully obstructed the government's efforts to get those documents back. We have been told by sources who have been following the case that Trump is expected to appear on Tuesday to be processed in connection with these charges. And we've been told by multiple sources that the special counsel had specifically been focusing on efforts to illegally retain classified documents and producing evidence to show that Trump also willfully obstructed the government's efforts to get those documents back.
Pierre Thomas there, and now our ABC News Deputy Political Director Avery Harper is joining us live. And Avery, already tonight, as this news is breaking, the former president already campaigning off this news?
Yeah, he has already sent out a fundraising appeal. His campaign has sent out a fundraising appeal to its supporters, campaigning off this second criminal indictment. And this is not something that we have not seen before. This is something that he used to fuel fundraising after his first indictment in March. And so, look, when you look at the aftermath of his first indictment, I think it could be an indication of what's to come. Trump pledged to continue on with his presidential bid despite charges, and he even argued that these cases could be a boost to his campaign, and he was not wrong. The fact is he still outpaces his GOP rivals when it comes to recent polling. If you look at the latest ABC News Washington Post poll, which was conducted about a month after Trump's first indictment, in an open-ended question, 43% of Republican and GOP-leaning independents said they'd like to see the party nominate Trump for president next year. When the six best-known candidates were named, he advanced to 51%. And another boon to his campaign was the fact that Republicans, by and large, rallied around him after his first indictment.
You're listening to special coverage from ABC News of the indictment of President Trump on federal charges. This is KSL FM Midvale, KSL AM, Salt Lake City. Good evening, 6 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Caplan. Right now, 71 degrees in Salt Lake City. KSL's top story is breaking news. A former president of the U.S. will face federal criminal charges for the first time in American history. This is related to official documents at the White House residence that were packed into boxes when the former president left office. They were sent to Mar-a-Lago, some of them classified, all of them by law property of the National Archives. The 7 criminal counts Mr. Trump will reportedly face: making false statements, concealing national security documents, and more. Mr. Trump's been ordered to appear in Miami federal court. He'll be arrested and booked next Tuesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Right now, the former president is at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, where he posted a message to Truth Social. By the way, KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas is here live in the studio, and we're going to break down what's been going on over the course of this afternoon. But first, Greg, if you don't mind, I would like to read from the former president's post on Truth Social. First, he complains about President Biden and his use of classified documents. Then he says, I've been summoned to appear at the federal courthouse in Miami Tuesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. I never thought it possible such a thing could happen to a former president who received far more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country and is currently leading by far all candidates, both Democratic and Republican, in polls of the 2024 presidential election. Capital letters, I am an innocent man. This is indeed a dark day for the United States of America. We are a country in serious and rapid decline, but together we will make America great again. Greg Skordas, always defending himself and selling at the same time, the former president. What's your take on what's been happening over the past hour?
I don't even know if you can respond to this, Jeff. It's very difficult. In fact, we learn about the indictment from the former president himself. And if you recall, it results from the investigation that the FBI did at his home in Mar-a-Lago. That's why the indictment is brought in Florida, where FBI agents seized over 300 classified documents. And if you recall, Jeff, the president sort of took a step back and he told his Attorney General, Merrick Garland, in order and Merrick Garland agreed, in order to keep the appearance of impropriety so that it didn't appear to be any sort of a political prosecution, they appointed a special counsel, Jack Smith, a former prosecutor, very skilled lawyer, and asked him to take a look at this, independent of the Democrats or the democratically appointed attorney general. And he has apparently decided to bring, as you just articulated, a 7-count indictment against the former president for his mishandling of these classified documents. And it's a federal indictment. These are serious matters because of the severity of the importance of the documents themselves. But this is something that's just as unprecedented as it could be, just as Donald Trump's presidency was at the get-go.
I am kind of in a fog because of the swirl of developments over this past hour, so help me out with some basic legal, if you would. There's been an indictment. Does that mean a grand jury made the decision he should be charged?
Yes, grand juries. So a grand jury sat in a federal grand jury in Florida sat, and they heard the evidence presented by special counsel Jack Smith and decided to vote a bill, to vote an indictment. In Utah, we do it the same way. Our federal courts do indictments. Our states do proceed by information. But an indictment means, as opposed to an information or a complaint, which are brought by prosecutors, that a grand jury heard the case, that a group of citizens, usually about 24 or more, sat down, heard the evidence, were presented with the evidence, and decided, based on what they heard, that an individual, in this case the former president, should be charged with a number of criminal charges. And these are almost all, I assume from what you described, that they're all felonies. They're serious charges.
Now, in grand juries, prosecutors hold great sway.
Sure.
It's not the even proceedings that you expect in a jury trial. They kind of lean on the scales of justice a little bit.
No question. And there's an old adage, you can indict a ham sandwich. And the reason for that, Jeff, is because there's no judge there to withhold evidence that's not admissible in a normal court of law. There's no defense attorney there to cross-examine the evidence as it comes in, and there's no defendant there to present his or her version of the case. So the prosecution has free reign. But Jeff, keep this in mind, and I prosecuted for 8 years. A prosecutor is not going to bring a case like this just to embarrass someone or just to humiliate someone or just to hurt them politically. Because if you bring a case like this, Jeff, in America in 2023 and you lose and a jury finds the former president not guilty a year from now, this special prosecutor is going to have a lot of egg on his face. So you would expect them to have done their homework and to make sure that they've got more than just a flimsy case to bring the charges just because.
The special prosecutor, Jack Smith, what you're saying says, I have the goods, let's do this.
Right. And you would assume that the state of New York, when it brought its state prosecution, that prosecutor did the same thing. And of course, he's been challenged a lot, and people have been looking at his political statements and his political position. But really, I mean, I prosecuted, Jeff. You don't bring cases, you don't bring high-profile cases unless you have a reasonable certainty that you're going to win that case in front of a jury the day you bring the indictment.
When he was arrested in New York, and everybody said the DA in New York City, Alvin Bragg, was a political animal, this was ego-driven. There are better cases against the former president. If people want to prosecute, there's the case in Georgia about swaying the election. There's this Mar-a-Lago case. To many people, this is really no big deal. We're talking about pieces of paper. We're talking about, for instance, the letters from Kim Jong-un that he kept. Yes, they're the property of the United States, but the former president apparently decided, well, they're mine.
Yeah, and the thing is that maybe they are documents that he could use in his memoirs or something like that, but they're classified. They're top security. They deal with national security interests, and they shouldn't be in somebody's bedroom in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it's not the kind of things you would expect that other individuals who are not involved with the government, who are not involved in top secret negotiations or in a top secret position can just access because they happen to walk over to Donald Trump's house and look on his dining room table and find something. So there's a reason why these things are classified.
You know, I mentioned the Kim Jong-un letters are among the documents, but apparently there were some that were far more serious with national security implications. At least that's as the story is told. It will become evidence at some point since there's now obviously going to be a trial, but I'm a bit confused about something.
Sure.
There was a grand jury that was supposedly hearing evidence in this case in Washington, D.C. There's also this one in Miami. Why two grand juries in two different places about this Mar-a-Lago business?
So the documents were taken from Washington, D.C., and so the grand jury is looking at that. The documents were found in Florida. Arguably, there's a crime committed in both jurisdictions. It's illegal to possess the documents. It's also illegal to remove them. So it makes sense that a prosecution could occur in both jurisdictions, just as like a drug dealer who brings drugs in from Texas and sells them in Utah could be charged in both jurisdictions. I don't mean to compare Donald Trump to a drug dealer, but I'm just talking about how multiple jurisdictions can bring charges based on related conduct.
So comparing the charges, for those who aren't well-versed in matters legal, what's the difference between state charges and federal charges, the severity of penalties, for instance, because the former president is facing both. Which would be considered more serious?
Those of us that practice in both jurisdictions normally, as a defense attorney, I'm always happier when my client is charged in state court rather than federal court. And not because the charges are much more serious, but because in federal court, the punishment is almost always more serious. We have what we call sentencing guidelines, where judges are almost by law required, and it's not a requirement by any means, but they really have strict rules on what the sentence is based on the crime, where in Utah a judge can look at indeterminate sentences and put a person on probation much easier than a federal court judge can.
This is KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas graciously joining us after the announcement that former President Trump has been indicted on federal criminal charges, the first time this has happened to a former president in American history, related to the documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago. So, what's the next step in this process, and how does this move along? Are we going to have a trial in the middle of a presidential election campaign?
So he's scheduled to be in court on Tuesday in Miami. That will be his first appearance. People might call it an arraignment, where you say not guilty. The judge reads all the charges. The indictment is unsealed so that everyone can see its contents and see what the basis for the charges are. That'll be unsealed on Tuesday. Trump will be there with his legal team. They'll enter a not guilty plea, and then the judge will schedule dates. For example, he'll say, the government has to give all the evidence, all the discovery, all the materials that they have to the defense team within 120 days. The defense has so many days to file motions. We'll schedule a trial for some time in the spring, perhaps, of next year. In a case like this, would be lucky if we could try it within a year. But it would certainly, under our speedy trial rules, you would expect that the former president would have a right, if he wanted, to have this case tried well before the 2024 presidential election.
There are so many what-ifs. For instance, what if the trial is pushed too late? He wins the presidency. Can he take office as a convicted criminal? Or if the trial is pushed to after he wins the presidency, would it be pushed off another 4 years? Are there any answers to these questions?
Well, I think the short answer is that you're innocent in America until proven guilty. So right now, he can run for president. He can do anything he wants. And he could be elected president. The question, of course, becomes if he's indicted or convicted, I should say. In the meantime, he would almost certainly be removed from the ballot, and he would almost certainly be removed from the presidency if he's in that position at the time. Although these are bridges we've never had to cross in this country before, so who knows?
There are quite a few bridges here to talk about. I want to shift briefly. I know this is not your purview, but you've been in the political game, and there's a political aspect to everything that's going on here. For instance, there's this new Deseret News Hinckley Institute poll of Utah Republicans that says heading into the primary, Donald Trump holds a 1-point lead over Ron DeSantis here in Utah, 27 to 26%. After this evening's developments, do you see that shifting in Utah?
Sadly, Jeff, the last time he was indicted, his numbers went up. So, I mean, who knows where it's going to happen again? It's certainly been an issue for him when he gets indicted. He has a masterful way of making the best defense offense, the best defense is a good offense, and he's going to attack the president. He's going to attack his political rivals. This is brought in Florida. He's going to attack Ron DeSantis. He's going to make political hay out of this.
We appreciate it very much, you graciously taking the time to sit down with us and explain this case in painstaking detail as best we can. Is there going to be a news conference at which the charges are detailed by the special prosecutor?
That'll happen at the arraignment next Tuesday. And then perhaps afterwards, both sides, both the prosecution and the Trump team, will be able to get out there and give their impromptu press conferences talking about the strengths or weaknesses of the case.
Till then, we have a lot of question marks.
Absolutely.
Next Tuesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks a lot, Greg Skordas. We return to ABC News coverage after the former president has been indicted.
The late Yogi Berra, that we're sitting here, we had a similar kind of thing play itself out with the New York hush money indictment just 2 months ago, and we heard about the indictment. Trump put out some information about the indictment, but it took a while before we actually saw the charges, saw the indictment, and then we could form a basis of an opinion, or there could be an analysis. And when we finally saw it, Alex, it was a pretty lengthy, detailed set of facts that were alleged. You could argue whether or not it was a strong case, and Trump supporters obviously believe it wasn't, but it was detailed. The same thing is happening here. An indictment, just by its very nature, is a sealed document. The grand jury is a secret proceeding, and the indictment's been handed up. It's somewhere in the system. At some point, it will be unsealed, either before Trump makes his first appearance next week in Florida or when he makes his first appearance in Florida, and then we'll know about it. But we're talking about prosecutors. Take the politics out of it. These are prosecutors who are among the most serious in the business. And if you recall, a year ago, when the search at Mar-a-Lago first occurred, the Attorney General spoke for what was happening because the case was being handled by the normal prosecutors who handle high-profile national security issues inside the Justice Department. Then Trump became an announced candidate again. And as a result, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, went ahead and brought in a special prosecutor, somebody who still reports to him ultimately, but is outside of the normal Justice Department mechanisms. And we are talking about a special prosecutor in Jack Smith, one of the highest regarded, one of the most serious people who does he's known for doing complex investigations at the international courts in The Hague. This is somebody who's a serious lawyer. He's a serious prosecutor. And we can imagine that if it's 7 counts, it's going to be 7 very, very serious charges alleged. Obviously, as Royal was saying, Trump is, if he goes to trial, Trump would then face a jury in Florida, certainly a much more hospitable environment than, say, New York City or Washington, D.C. But we're talking about serious charges and very different from New York. We're talking about charges that go right to the heart of conduct that was allegedly committed by Donald Trump as president and because he was president. Remember, the accusation or the criticism of the hush money case in New York was that was all before he was president. So they're going after him now so many years afterward. This is not old stuff, and it's not non-presidential.
KSL News Time is 6:15. What you're listening to is ABC News special coverage after the announcement that former President Donald Trump has been indicted on criminal charges. He's going to have to appear in Miami federal court next Tuesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. He'll be arrested, face the charges, and that's when we're going to learn more. He's posted on Truth Social saying that he's innocent right now. He's at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, and joining us on the KSL Newsline, the former chair of the Utah GOP, Carson Jorgensen. Thanks for joining us. Carson, how do you feel about the news we're hearing this afternoon?
You know, it's hard to get excited about it anymore because it seems like it's on the daily basis anymore.
One of the things that I was asking Greg Skordas, and he's our legal guy. Now I have the political guy here. This Deseret News Hinckley Institute poll today that shows Donald Trump with Utah Republicans at 27%, Ron DeSantis at 26%. Does the news today and does the arrest next Tuesday change that matrix in any way in your mind here in Utah?
No, I don't think so. Because I mean, if it was going to move it, we'd have seen it before. Like I say, I don't see it moving it one way or another.
So pretty much we'll probably see 27 to 26 after the media circus that comes on Tuesday. Have you heard from anybody within the Utah Republican Party over the past little while, their thoughts about what's going on?
Yeah, I keep in touch with all of them on the regular, and you know what? Everybody's just kind of in the same boat right now. It's just they're kind of tired of the runaround, and once again, an indictment is not a conviction, and everybody's going to jump to conclusions and jump to it. And I think that's what everybody wants. And as for me, I'm going to sit back and watch, and time will be the ultimate teller in all of this.
Former President Trump quickly jumped on Truth Social, his social media service, to complain about President Biden and documents, to insist that he is completely innocent, and to say that it's a dark day and that we're going to make America great again. How do you react to that? Do you see this as a witch hunt?
How many times have we done this now? I mean, first it was the Steele dossier, and then it was Russian collusion, then it was the Ukrainian quid pro quo, then it was New York, and now it's this. And have we seen anything come from it? That is my biggest argument behind all of this, is never anything happens. And I mean, people are just going to start not listening anymore, and that's what's happening to the general population right now. Because they're done with it. They want to see proof. They want to see something done. Until then, they're not going to listen anymore. And they're just kind of crying wolf at this point, and I think they're burning their own bridges. And as far as Biden goes, sure, absolutely. Are we going to hold Hillary accountable for the 33,000 emails she deleted? Are we going to hold her accountable for keeping national security secrets on her own private server? What about President Biden and the things they found? 1,800 different documents, I believe. I mean, I'm all for justice, but it has to be equal across the board, and it sure isn't right now.
Well, there is the difference that former President Trump, according to this indictment, didn't return documents that were requested, while President Biden quickly did so. That is one difference between the two cases, and you get that, right?
Yeah, sure. And like I say, national security is national security, and justice is justice, but we have to make sure that this is procured both directions.
We appreciate it very much. Carson Jorgensen is the former chairman of the Utah GOP. Thanks for coming on KSL News Radio for a moment now. We're going to return to ABC News special coverage on the indictment of the former president of the United States.
Incredibly strong. Obviously, Royal talks about this all the time, but you have Donald Trump on tape. Remember the tape with the Secretary of State in Georgia with Brad Raffensperger talking about finding the 11,000 votes. So that all these things are live balls. And now that we have the second indictment among the four possible indictments to be announced, it does raise the political question, because we saw after the New York indictment that Donald Trump's popularity actually increased, that he became more likely to be the Republican nominee. I don't know that that's exactly what happens here. I don't know that with each successive indictment he becomes more popular, and especially when you start talking about the reality of how you become president, because winning a Republican primary is one thing, but he lost the election, it's widely believed by the political experts, he lost the election in the center with homemakers and middle American women and middle-aged African-American women and people who are looking for stability and calm and leadership. And I don't know that those traits are signified by somebody who keeps getting indicted on felonies.
ABC News chief investigative reporter Josh Margolin. Josh, thank you. We'll jump back over to our White House correspondent, Karen Travers. And Karen, in recent days, what have we been hearing from the current president, President Biden? He was asked about the investigation today, saying that he played no role in it. But beyond that, has he been saying much?
You know, he does not weigh in on anything related to former President Trump, whether it's politics or anything related to the investigations. The White House, the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, studiously avoids weighing in on any of these legal matters. And trust me, we have tried every which way to get her to weigh in on this. We've asked tonight for reaction to this. So far, no comment from the White House. But today, the president actually did talk about the Justice Department. He was asked at the end of his press conference with the British Prime Minister what his message is to Americans to convince them that they should trust the independence and fairness of the Justice Department when you have his predecessor, Donald Trump, repeatedly attacking it. And the president paused, and it was notable that he wanted to answer this question. And he said, "You notice I have never once, not one single time, suggested to the Justice Department what they should do or not do relative to bringing a charge or not bringing a charge." He said, "I'm honest." And I think that has been the message from this administration, even as they have no commented us for, 2 years on everything related to the former president and legal issues. They have always insisted that there is a very firm wall up between the White House and the Justice Department on all of these investigations, that the president has no dealings with the Attorney General, the special counsel, or anything related to this. Our colleague Pierre Thomas just reported that this will be a speaking indictment that will lay out in great detail the government's case, because the special counsel very much wants the American people to see in great detail what this historic case is all about, that they understand that there is a significant need for transparency here. When you are indicting a former president on such significant charges here, especially a former president who is currently running for the White House again, there is a significant and important need for transparency. That is something that the White House will say privately that they absolutely support and they would like to see from the Justice Department. Just one more point. You did mention earlier that, the current president has also had his own issues with classified documents, and that coming up at his residence in Wilmington, at one of his office spaces too. And they will say that the big difference here between his case and that of the former president is that as soon as those documents were found, and they were in far fewer number than former President Trump, as soon as they were found, they immediately rang up the archives or the Justice Department and turned them over because they wanted them out of their possession.
Karen, the current White House can say all they want that there's no connection, no politics here, but we already know that the former president, he's campaigning on it tonight, that this is all politics. Is there anything the White House can do? I mean, there's really nothing, right, to convince Trump supporters and those who believe that this is politics? Anything more they could do?
I don't think so. And, you're going to have people who certainly believe that. And, interestingly, we had a poll last month at the Washington Post that, looked broadly at the former president and criminal charges. And it found that, about 54% said they supported criminal charges against Trump for his role in the January 6th insurrection, and about the same for the handling of classified documents after he left office. Both of these things, of course, being investigated right now. But that same poll found that he is still outperforming all of his rivals in the Republican field at this point in the primary process. When you kind of open-ended question ask people, 43% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents said they want to see him as their nominee for president next year. And when you go with the 6 best-known candidates and name them all, he's at 51%. So it's something when you still see over 54% are saying, yeah, he should be charged for all these things that he is accused of doing, but they still want to see him as the nominee next year.
Our White House correspondent, Karen Travers. Karen, thank you. During this breaking news tonight that we know the former president has been indicted by a grand jury in Florida, our legal analyst, Royal Oakes, is with us as well. And, Royal, you heard Karen there reporting that this will be a speaking indictment laying out chapter and verse the government's case. Special counsel said to be very aware that the American people will need transparency and want it laid out. What does that mean? What are we going to see?
Well, I think what it means, Alex, is that there's going to be an excruciating amount of detail in the indictment concerning just why the prosecutors feel this extraordinary step of indicting a former president a second time is appropriate. And I think one of the difficulties the prosecutor is going to face is, you remember how people in many cases said, are you kidding me with all the stuff he did? Stormy Daniels paying off a porn star? Is that what we lead with? And to some extent, people are now going to say again, really? Documents at Mar-a-Lago compared to stealing an election in Georgia, compared to an insurrection in Washington, D.C.? And I think maybe the answer is prosecutors in various parts of the country are saying to themselves, we want to make sure that people understand that we're legitimate, we're making a valid case here. But I think every single indictment that you see is going to be increasingly serious. So I wouldn't be surprised, based on reports we've heard about Fani Willis, the DA in Atlanta, possibly announcing her decision between mid-July and mid-September. What we're going to see is maybe the more serious ones coming after this. And it's just going to be the weight. I mean, how many indictments will the American public put up with? The cynics would say, well, this is the Democrat playbook. The only person on the planet that Joe Biden can beat is Donald Trump, and therefore let's make sure he's on the ballot, but let's make sure he's wounded as he approaches the ballot and the election in November. So you've got the political component, but the legal package, as you say, we're going to hear a lot of detail next week, and I think that it's going to be a very strong effort by the prosecutors to convince anybody who might be on the fence, whether it's on the jury or among the voters. We are serious. We've got proof of his intent that he wanted to violate the Espionage Act and obstruct justice.
Royal, when you were talking a short time ago about the potential sentence in this of many years in prison, is this the most serious? I mean, we talk about Georgia as well. Where would this come down? Where is this one in relation to all the others?
Well, it's certainly more serious than Stormy Daniels because of the 10-year and 20-year statute. But when it comes to, regardless of the number of years, I just think that the voting public is going to perceive something like an insurrection in Washington and stealing an election in Georgia as more serious than, taking a few boxes of documents that he really shouldn't have taken or paying off a porn star. So, yeah, it's kind of like, it's a silly analogy, I'll say, Alex, but when you go to the comedy club and you see three acts, the first one, he's going to try his best, but he's not going to do that good. The second one's going to do it, and then the third one's the headliner. That's the one that really leaves them laughing. Well, I think prosecutors want to make sure that they finish really strong, and nobody's going to be laughing, but they're going to be taking this very seriously, this unprecedented multiple indictment of a former president.
Yeah, number 2 of 4 that we know of. In the 30 seconds that we've got left here, Royal, what's next? What's going to go on Tuesday? We've got the arraignment. This is all going to go very relatively quickly over the next couple of days.
Exactly. The exact charges will be revealed to the public. We will hear the speaking indictment and see all the details, and we will see the inevitable not guilty plea by the former president, and then off to the races in terms of both the political machines working and the legal engines preparing the case against Donald Trump.
Royal Oakes, our legal analyst. Royal, as always, thank you. And again, we know at least 7 counts in this indictment that has come down tonight, been handed up by the grand jury in Florida in the classified documents probe in court Tuesday at 3 in the afternoon. I'm Alex Stone. You've been listening to live coverage from ABC News.
ABC News, honored for the 2nd year in a row with 5 Murrow Awards for excellence in audio, including breaking news coverage. ABC News, America's #1 choice.
You're listening to Jeff Caplan's Afternoon News on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good evening. It's 6:30 at KSL. Jeff Caplan here. We're at 72 in Salt Lake City. KSL's top story is breaking news. Former President Donald Trump will be arrested on federal charges next Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. He's to appear in Miami federal court after his indictment on what is reportedly 7 counts related to classified documents allegedly hidden at Mar-a-Lago. Charges reportedly range from making false statements to mishandling national security documents, but all of that won't be revealed till next Tuesday. For the meantime, the former president has jumped on social media to first of all announce his indictment this afternoon. He professed his innocence, promised he'll make America great again, and joining us live on the KSL Newsline, a former federal prosecutor, John Huber, the one-time U.S. attorney for Utah. thanks for joining us. From what you've heard about this case thus far, does it seem like a guilty verdict in this case would result in prison time for the former president?
Well, that's far too soon to start those kind of discussions. There's a long ways to go before a jury will weigh in on the former president's conduct. But needless to say, Jeff, these are very serious charges. When you're talking about multiple counts, federal felonies, that's just about as serious as it gets in American society and the criminal justice system.
So as someone who's been in the game, tell us how the process works from here. I guess we pick up again next Tuesday as Donald Trump arrives at Miami federal court, right?
That's right. And I think now it benefits the community because we have a criminal justice system that is open wide, and the charges will be presented to the public openly. We'll get to see copies of it. And then from that point forward, all of this debate and discussion will happen inside that courtroom, at least the debate and discussion that counts. And we will have a full record of it. And, it causes us trepidation as Americans to see something we've never seen or experienced before. Some of us have concerns about the criminal justice system. Others of us, myself included, we have faith and hope that there will be a truth-finding mechanism in that court process, and that at the end of the day, at the end of that process, we will have the interests of justice found, the truth found and revealed, and that, our hope and my optimism is, regardless where we are on that issue, that the court system, the judicial system, the federal system in Miami, Florida, will serve our country, although it will be a strain on us as Americans.
I think of the expression, nature abhors a vacuum. We'll learn the barest details of this case from court on Tuesday. Except for that, there's nothing as this slow process grinds forward toward a trial, evidence, and everything else, conceivably sentencing or a not guilty verdict from a jury in federal court. At the same time, many people see this case as political. From your view, having sat in a similar chair as the prosecutor here, do you think politics plays a role in the special prosecutor's investigation?
Look, the benefit of this open system we've had in our nation since the very beginning is that we will all learn about it. And so these suppositions and these conspiracies and guesswork that we've had should be fully vetted. That if the former president's defense team does what it says it will have a full-throated and fulsome defense, challenging every comma, dotted I, and crossed T in the charges brought against the former president. On the other end, you will have prosecutors who will be confined by the rules of evidence and the precedents of the court and the statutes that Congress has passed, that there are gutters on the side of this bowling alley, and you cannot go outside of those. So in that disciplined process that will reveal itself in the coming months and maybe even longer, we will learn a lot about what the truth is, and it will be a disciplined process that hopefully we will have faith in the eventual outcome.
I appreciate your measured stance. We're speaking with John Huber, who is the one-time U.S. Attorney for Utah, talking from his experience in the federal court system, but perhaps adding some complexity. I wonder if the former president could face additional charges related to the documents, because this indictment was from federal court in Miami, and there's reportedly another grand jury investigating the same case in Washington, D.C., one apparently because documents were taken from the White House in Washington, the other because the documents were found at Mar-a-Lago. Could the former president face additional charges? Is it conceivable?
It's conceivable, and pundits and commentators have noted other avenues that are out there. We've already seen the state indictment in New York. We now see this federal indictment. There are other investigations that we are aware of. I think what should be troubling to all of us as Americans is that although the former president has now been indicted, and that's unprecedented for the mishandling of classified information is what we suspect, that is all too common of a headline in the most recent years. on both sides of the political spectrum. So if you say Biden, Comey, Clinton, Pence, all of those names, and that's an abbreviated list of names, all have their own headlines associated with this issue of classified evidence or classified information that is being improperly possessed or mishandled. It's not just specific to one person now charged with the former president. This is a headline we've seen far too many times across the political spectrum.
There have been various allegations about President Biden, about Hillary Clinton, and documents and emails and the like, and I understand what you're saying. The situations might or might not be similar. I think when we see this 7-count indictment, we'll have a better idea of which might be more serious. In the meantime, I want to ask you a few theoretical questions from your knowledge of the federal court system. If there is a prison sentence and a guilty verdict, could a president conceivably serve as president from a federal prison cell?
That is a question that I do not have an answer to, and I would challenge even the highest minds in the legal field to come up with an answer with that right now. That's a challenging question that is far down the road and across bridges we haven't crossed yet.
So I will challenge you while we're here with a question that really is from about 3 years ago. If former President Trump is reelected, could he conceivably pardon himself?
Well, these are questions, Jeff, and I think they're fun to talk about and to wonder about at the water cooler. We're just not there yet. Those are questions that are not ripe to be answered. We have a long ways to go, and the president has a defense he's going to present, and the prosecutors have to live up to the charges that they have brought, which they would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in an open court before a jury of the former president's peers. That is a long road before we get to some of those questions that you have, although they're very provocative.
We appreciate when you come on KSL News Radio. John Huber, the former U.S. Attorney for Utah, thanks for joining us. KSL News Time, 6:38. We'll take a brief break and check traffic in just a moment.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops here in Salt Lake City, Utah. You know, and here at PC Laptops, we know the universe is kind of strange right now. So we've worked really hard to bring you the most amazing deals right now. You can get an amazing, powerful desktop. In fact, it's a 2024 model you can get right now. That'd be perfect for work, play, school, production, whatever you want to do for only $11.99 or $29 a month. We also have special 12 months, zero interest financing. So it's kind of cool. You could use the bank's money. That's an approved credit. Get ready for school early, for work, or upgrade your productivity with the most amazing new 2024 models starting at $11.99. All backed with a lifetime parts and labor warranty at PC Laptops. Just go to PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com right now, because at PC Laptops, we really love you.
Covering the tail end of the rush, it's traffic and weather together on KSL every 10 minutes on the nines. We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates, and here's Ricky Meese.
We have a little bit of leftover heavy and slow traffic, only in spots, and those spots are scattered southbound I-15 between the South Interchange and Bangerter Highway, then in Summit County on the way to Wasatch County. Delays due to roadwork southbound Highway 40 from Jordanelle to River Road. Mark?
Much better out west on SR 36 in Mountain View. It does slow through briefly through Daybreak. Bangerter's a touch slow southbound at 9800 South. Redwood Road slows slow and go. Porter Rockwell to Camp Williams. I-15 in Utah County, though, still is in good shape. Steve.
Back to full-on speeds either way on I-15 between downtown Salt Lake City and Brigham City right now. Got a good drive on the West Belt. Legacy's all clear, as is Highway 89. Changes are coming to Bangerter Highway. Now's the time to weigh in. Visit UDOT.utah.gov/Bangerter to learn more. Steve Carlson at the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, the active weather pattern continues with afternoon thunderstorms, and they're in the forecast for the next 7 days. Lows generally in the 50s, highs in the 80s, thunderstorms in the afternoons, and pretty quiet in the overnight. Looks like that pattern will hold all the way through the middle of next week. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubanks.
72 degrees in Salt Lake City. Our coverage of the former president's indictment will continue on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM. your all-day companion for news. Did you get your free Frazzle last Friday? Well, you get another chance because every Friday this month is Free Frazzle Friday. Just walk into your neighborhood convenience store, get a 12-ounce cup of Frazzle at no charge. It's yours. Best deal in the world, Free Frazzle Friday. Participating convenience stores are everywhere. Holiday Oil, Maverick, Extra Mile, and many others. Now, if you're one of the friendly folks who's unfamiliar with Frazzle, fabulous, I'll fill you in. Frazzle is an ice-cold flavor-packed slushie that comes in delicious flavors like my favorite, Blue Razzmatazz. My grandkids mix the flavors like Tiger's Blood, Tangerango, Lemon Ice, whatever your flavor. Visit your convenience store and get your free Frazzle on Friday. One per person, but you can bring the whole family. Everybody celebrates Free Frazzle Friday. They're a Utah company gone national, and they know you're going to love Frazzle. They're so confident. The Frazzle is free this Friday. Where? Locations are on the Frazzle app or at freefrazzlefriday.com.
I found, Tim, that one of the hardest things about being a mom is just deciding what to cook for dinner every night.
I know.
Which is part of why I'm so excited to tell everybody about Beehive Meals.
It is a Utah company, and at some point we're going to have to tell the story of the Jacksons and how they actually got this going in 2019. But if you've been struggling with having tacos one night and spaghetti another night, open up your world for dinner with things like Mongolian beef stir-fry or Parmesan honey pork roast.
Your family dinner has just never been easier than it is with these. They're pre-assembled freezer meals. I put it in the crock pot. I set it for how long it needs to go. It stays warm after that. And that way, if the family can't all eat together, if one person has basketball and another, it's just warm for whenever they're ready.
And by the way, less than $3.50 per serving. You couldn't go out to the store or out to dinner, certainly on your own, for that price.
You're absolutely right, Tim. I couldn't buy the ingredients for any less.
Start it for your family right now. Go to beehivemeals.com.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 50 features.
Ooma?
Yep, switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Find small business calm at ooma.com/radio. That's OOMA.com/radio.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs that will significantly reduce the amount you owe if you qualify. Accredited Debt Relief has helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. For this free information, call 800-786-3400. That's 800-786-3400.
KSL News Time 6:45. The three things you need to know this hour. First,
former President Donald Trump has been indicted in the Justice Department investigation into the misuse of classified documents. Trump's been charged with 7 counts. I'm KSL News Radio's Tom Harrelson.
Second, Mr. Trump is expected to surrender to authorities at Miami Federal Court on Tuesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Third, our biggest traffic trouble spot.
A crash, and troopers are blocking traffic. This is on the off-ramp from southbound I-15 to go westbound at 10th North. It's a spot you just need to avoid and take an alternate route. Valley Freeway traffic starting to ease quite a bit. A few leftover busy spots southbound I-15, Murray to Draper. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Pop-up thunderstorms continue to be the story with temperatures in the 80s. I'm Kevin Eubanks.
71 degrees right now. It's raining in Provo and 70. Now, KSL's top national story from ABC News. at 6:45.
Sources tell ABC News a special counsel grand jury has recommended federal criminal charges against former President Trump over his handling of classified documents. On social media, Trump is saying he's been indicted. ABC Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has more from Washington.
This is perhaps one of the most consequential investigations the Justice Department has done in recent memory. We're talking about investigating a former president who's seeking to be reelected. They knew this was one of the most consequential cases that they've ever pursued, and I'm told that they have built a case month by month to produce compelling evidence to lay out in detail what Trump did in terms of taking the documents from the White House and then what he did in response to a government subpoena to return those documents.
And we're hearing that Trump has been told to appear in court in Miami on Tuesday for arraignment. That's where one of two juries has been hearing evidence in the case. The Justice Department has yet to comment. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Now the KSL In-Depth, and joining us live on the KSL Newsline is Ken Porter, who will be with us in just a moment. He's a retired FBI Assistant Special Agent in charge for the Salt Lake City Division. Stay right here.
Picture this, a warm summer evening, the sun setting behind the mountains, blankets being laid out on the cool grass, and world-class music. It's the Utah Symphony's Deer Valley Music Festival, and you're invited to escape into the music. With 12 concerts at Snow Park Amphitheater featuring country pop sensation Leanne Rimes, the movie music of John Williams, alt-rocker Ben Folds, and the Beach Boys. Tickets are on sale now at DeerValleyMusicFestival.org. The sun is hanging in the sky ready to set. Blankets are spreading out across the cool grass. A slight mountain breeze can be felt as picnic baskets begin to open. It's the Utah Symphony's Deer Valley Music Festival, and you're invited to escape into the music. With 12 amazing concerts at Snow Park Amphitheater featuring hit headliner artists and everything from classical to classic rock, there's something just for you. Tickets are on sale now and going fast at DeerValleyMusicFestival.org.
KSL News Time, 6:47. Joining us live on the KSL Newsline, Ken Porter, a retired FBI Assistant Special Agent in charge, Salt Lake City Division. Thanks for coming on. In your job, you deal with classified documents, yes?
Yes, absolutely, Jeff. Thank you for having me on.
We're really glad to have you. So what kind of security is there typically for a classified document that you would deal with in your job?
Oh, there's different levels of security based on the classification of the document or the classification of the investigation. First off, every FBI employee has a top secret security clearance and has to maintain that in order to stay employed with the FBI, because we deal with information from anywhere from confidential and law enforcement sensitive all the way up to top secret SCI material. So depending on the types of investigations you are conducting, you will have various accesses into different levels of classification. But every FBI agent, every FBI employee has to maintain that top secret clearance.
So that's what it's like with classified documents at the FBI. So if you removed a classified document and took it home, what would have happened to you as an FBI agent?
You know, anything from being terminated to being charged criminally with violating federal law. Of course, there's also other penalties that could accrue, such as just probationary type penalties, depending on the severity of the case, depending on the level of classification of the documents, how many documents you have, whether you were truthful in the investigation, whether you were telling lies or obfuscating or trying to hide exactly what you did. You could be put on probation. You could be punished with time off. But in the most serious of cases, certainly an FBI employee taking classified documents out of an FBI space and storing them in their home or in their car, that could lead to criminal charges. Absolutely.
So in this particular case against former President Trump, how would the FBI investigate a case like this? I understand that the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, literally spent months and months working on this case. Did the FBI play a role?
You know, Jeff, I'm not sure about the specific role the FBI played in this investigation. I would be surprised if they weren't involved either directly in the investigation or at the very least verifying the classification level of the documents that were found. I know, based on news coverage of the searches that were conducted at former President Trump's residence in Mar-a-Lago, that the FBI was the agency that conducted those searches. So I would imagine that FBI agents were also involved in the subsequent investigation that led to that search, and B, that led to the federal indictments that were just announced today.
You know, I think of an FBI investigation and I think of gloves and fingerprints. Was this like that at Mar-a-Lago?
I imagine it was. And I will say this. I know that there was a lot of coverage, a lot of commentary in the press about this being, like a militaristic raid with the SWAT team, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know the details of just exactly what was involved, but I will tell you this, as the assistant special agent in charge of the Salt Lake City office, anytime my agents were conducting a search or an arrest, they were required to wear their ballistic vests, and they were required to be armed. So when you saw FBI agents standing out in front of the Mar-a-Lago estate dressed in their tactical gear, whether it was a SWAT team or not, that was appropriate FBI policy that they were following.
We appreciate your perspective. Thanks so much for joining us. Ken Porter is retired FBI Assistant Special Agent in charge for the Salt Lake City Division. Thanks. KSL News Time, 6:52. Do we have time for traffic? We're brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. And here's Ricky Meese.
We are clearing out on the Salt Lake County freeways. We still have a little bit of busy traffic left over in Midvale and Sandy, but otherwise no delays. Mark?
Still have a bit of a delay. Mountain View and Bangor are south into the valley. I-15 in Utah County still looks good. Steve?
Wide open speeds northbound 15 Salt Lake up to Willard Bay. Got a crash on the exit ramp from southbound I-15 to go west on 10th North. Wake up with a sore back? Upgrade your mattress today at Durden's New Sleep Center. Durden's mattresses on 5th South and Bountiful. Durden's, brands you know at prices you'll love. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL 7-day forecast continues to have afternoon thunderstorms. Lows will be in the 50s with highs in the 80s here along the Wasatch Front all the way through the end of the week and into the weekend. To start next week, still a chance for thunderstorms and a little cooler. Highs will be in the upper 70s on Monday, Tuesday, back to the low 80s for Wednesday, Thursday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank.
Your 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful at 71 degrees.
Advanced Window Products. Factory direct affordable windows. Call today and they're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindowsusa.com.
Don't be worried. Be ready. KSL News Radio is partnering with Be Ready Utah to provide the plans your family needs for an emergency, the tools and supplies to keep on hand, and the knowledge on how to keep a cool head. It's Be Ready Utah. Listen for Be Ready tips and tools each Tuesday with Dave Dujanovic. Plus, find the latest preparation info at beready.utah.gov. That's beready.utah.gov. Be Ready Utah with KSL News Radio.
Register for breaking news alerts from us by texting the Cypress Credit Union KSL text line. Just text the word news to 57500.
It doesn't get better than summer camping in Utah, and it doesn't get any bigger than the Utah Summer RV Palooza, presented by Bish's RV. We're bringing the biggest RV show in the region to Layton, June 8th through the 10th, for 3 days only. The Layton Hills Mall is where you'll find a massive selection of top RV brands like Go Play, Ember RV, Forest River, Northwood, and a whole lot more. Get up to 20% below cost on select new 2022 RVs, and get 90 days no payments on approved credit for all play and no pay till September OAC. Summer RV Palooza is where you'll find a brand new 26 BH travel trailer. It's high quality at an undeniable value at a sale price of only $19,995. The selection is huge, and so are the trade-in offers. Get max value for your current RV when you trade in at the show. Shop the Summer RV Palooza now at bishes.com/Utah RV Palooza. 3 days only, June 8th through the 10th at the Layton Hills Mall. Sponsored by Bish's RV.
We are watching Utah's money. The sun is shining on the solar industry. Their trade association says solar panel sales are expected to triple by 2028. They're already up 30% in the past year, with sales highest in the places where the sun shines most, Florida and California. American Airlines says they're waiving fees if you have to rebook your flight because of the wildfire smoke. Now you're saying there's no wildfire smoke here. See, there might be at your destination with the East Coast, blanketed by an epic shroud of smoke from Canada. In other business news, businesses are relying ever more heavily on teenagers to fill job openings. A payroll processing company called Gusto reports 1 out of every 5 summer hires this year is under age 18. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 168, the S&P gained 26, the Nasdaq up 133 points. That's 1%.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Pro Paint Days are here at Lowe's. Now through June 16th, Lowe's MVPs members can start earning 20% back in paint rewards via Lowe's e-gift card when you spend $100 or more on qualifying paint purchases. Stock up on top paint brands like our new and exclusive HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Spec Right Pro Interior Paint. Lowe's knows pros. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/pro loyalty terms. Subject to change.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines. Brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
For those making their way southbound on I-15 or northbound, you are good to go between downtown and Draper. All clear on the rest of your Salt Lake County freeways and main secondaries. Mark?
You got a new crash right now on northbound I-15 down at Main Street in Payson over on the left shoulder. I-15 remains pretty clear between Lehigh and Provo, and the streets off the freeway in Utah County are good as well. Steve?
Looking at full speeds on I-15 right now, up and down the northern part of the state. Got a good drive between downtown Salt Lake City and the Brigham City Logan exit. Got a crash, though, on the exit ramp from southbound I-15 to go west on 10th North. That's in the cleanup stages. UHP on the scene there. Plus a crash at Ogden on southbound 1900 west at 4000 south in Ogden. Pretty good drive, though, on the west side belt route. No problems there. Same for Legacy. And on Highway 89 between Lagoon and I-84. It's the summer tour sales event at Murdoch Chevrolet. Take up to $6,000 off or 1.9% for 3 years on select Silverados. Murdoch Chevrolet in Logan, Woods Cross, or online at murdochchev.com. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines. A few thunderstorms still around. Then tonight we expect partly cloudy skies. The low temperature overnight, 59. For tomorrow, you can expect the same story pretty much. Thunderstorms in the afternoon and following a nice morning. Likewise, same story for Saturday, for Sunday, for Monday. Quite the